And W239BF Rochester. The sports leader. 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester.
Always live on the free Odyssey app.
The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia.
Bills, Dolphins, 1 o'clock. Wow. Sunday.
Mike Danger.
Just paint a picture. How insane is Orchard Park going to be Sunday with everything that's on the line for this game and the way this team is playing right at this moment?
Oh, man. This Sunday is going to be fireworks.
Gene Battaglia.
I think this is going to be a lot of fun for a lot of old-timers like yourself and me that remember what Bills, Dolphins used to mean way back in the day. And, I don't know, is this becoming a rivalry, Danger?
It's absolutely a rivalry.
Biggest regular season Bills-Dolphins game since...
maybe ever.
Indeed. Bills fans are going to be ready for this. Oh, my gosh. When does the tailgating start here?
The Monday night doubleheader, that was kind of aight.
Eagles are now 3-0 for the second consecutive season.
I think Cincinnati's done.
Coffin nails!
Bam!
Travis Kelce, Taylor Swift, power couple in the NFL.
Travis Kelce's had a lot of big catches in his career. This would be the biggest.
I want to kiss you.
Final week of the MLB regular season.
It is the preseason home opener here at KeyBank Center tonight. Go Sabres!
95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester.
Did I hear that correctly? Did I hear Bill Belichick deliver a one-liner and actually have it hit?
Oh, that was on EEI yesterday morning.
On our Odyssey Sports sister station.
There is no way that Belichick did that on his own. That was served up to him, by the producer beforehand. And Bill, all right, that's very funny. I'll use it.
He dare I say, he sounded like he was smiling while he was delivering the line about Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift. Don't make me start liking Bill Belichick. Don't make me believe that he actually has a personality. What are we doing?
Dude, I've heard, and you've heard the same thing, that Bill in front of the camera and Bill on the sideline, and that's not who he really is. He's actually kind of a funny guy that you would actually kind of like to be around, but because of his position, this is who he is. And by comparison, I think McDermott's actually kind of the same way.
Yeah.
They have to take on this persona.
Sure. Well, that was fun. Appreciate the Dandalorian putting that together for us as he does every day here in the Sports Bar. And welcome on in to the Sports Leader at 95.7 FM and AM 950. We appreciate you checking us out inside the free-to-download Odyssey app on your smart device. When you ask it to play 95.7 The Fan, you can get our video stream as well at The Fan Rochester on YouTube and on Twitch. I'm Mike Danger. That's Gene Battaglia. We've got another afternoon of fantastic sports talk in the Flower City ahead for the next 3 hours.
Yeah, 4 o'clock hour. We're going to be talking some fantasy with our guy from the NFL Network, Michael F. Florio, will be joining us as we will kind of set you up here for the waiver wire. What about this Miami running back that is still available in a lot of leagues? This guy, Achan. Well, that was fantastic what he did last week. I think the one league I was in, 53 points he put up. But is that anything close? Is that worthy? We'll ask about your Tuesday waiver wire and some other fantasy things related. That's coming up at about 4:25.
Yeah, and here's what else is brewing on tap here in the Sports Bar. Brought to you by Three Heads Brewing, where they have the Rocktoberfest Lager brewing right now on tap at Three Heads Multi-Sweet. And such a treat. Great for this time of year. Get it before it is gone. Later this hour, we'll discuss the Bills and the Dolphins with our buddy Matt Perino from the Syracuse Post-Standard.
Yeah, usually we do kind of a review with Matt because he's always on the road and he was down in Washington. But, boy, I don't know if we've ever kind of moved off a win that quickly. It was like, okay, yeah, that was nice. That was a lot of fun. Let's bring on the Dolphins here. So we'll talk to Matt, our good friend, who was again in D.C., and we'll look ahead to Miami on Sunday.
Yeah, we've got our usual fare on tap as well. We'll get to a round of shots during happy hour. It's Tuesday, which means Gino's got his pick locked in for Survive and Advance. If you're still alive in your NFL Survivor pools, we'll give you our pick for Week 4. We've got some takes on tap with I'll Drink to That on the way, and you can also pull up a stool and join us anytime on the Good Smoke Barbecue and Pub Wingman line at 866-4326. That's 585-866-4FAN.
Yeah, I mean, for our Survive in Advance, this might have been the week where, do I want to take a road team in Kansas City against the Jets? No, we used Kansas City last week, but we have our pick, Danger, and I'm going to guarantee, I can't guarantee, I'm going to forecast that in your pool, it's going to be a pick that not the majority of people will take.
That's a tease. I don't know which direction you're going. I looked at the schedule on Sunday night, and I said, man, this is going to be a tough week. This is a tough week to pick one team to win outright and advance to week 5. But you have it circled. You have it locked in.
Yes, I have it locked in. And if I may pump my own tires here, we took Kansas City. Like, oh, that was really easy. Okay, well, Dallas and Arizona, don't do that.
Yeah, well,
Baltimore against the Colts, don't do that.
We took Kansas City while other people got cute and took Baltimore or Dallas, the road team in that case, or Baltimore. Yeah. So
Gardner Minshew mania, the backup quarterback.
The hope is that it doesn't come to an end. When it does come to an end, we can make every excuse possible. But so far, so good, and we'll get Week 4's pick in for you here in a little bit. Gene knows his stuff, by the way. He's an expert now. They've got him on the BetQL network earlier today with our buddy PJ for Send It In.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think I forced myself onto that show like I do for Perino's show.
No, you didn't.
No, I was like, and so like that is up right now, and it's on demand it's Send It In. New time for the show, by the way, 1:00. So already passed, but was on there today. And it was interesting. And it's kind of cool to get the national perspective on this. But basically, his take was, hey, when it comes to the Miami Dolphins here, do you see the Dolphins kind of using game management to keep the Bills' offense off the field? I'm like, actually, no. I think it's actually the other way around. If you have your defensive coordinator, who also happens to be the head coach, will want his team playing complementary football, he's going to want Josh Allen to play a smart game and to have nice, long drives because the Dolphins are going to make plays. Can we just admit that? It's not going to be 3 points. It's not going to be 10. You'd be lucky to get out of this with 24 allowed to Miami, okay? Can we just admit that? Well, sure, and how you kind of limit those opportunities, make sure your offense is on the field more. It's the new evolution of this Bills offense.
And talking about the Miami offense, man, everybody around the league, they are the talk of the NFL. Sean McDermott calling them revolutionary.
They have unreal team speed on the offensive side. That's really where my focus has been the last hour or two. And it seems like they added to it this offseason, right? So very good skill. Tua is throwing the ball extremely well. And their schematics are almost revolutionary in what they do. I mean, it's Coach McDaniel's very creative and does a lot of things to get you out of position on defense.
Got his work cut out for him. Yeah, got his work cut out for him. And Sean McDermott there on the Miami Dolphins offense. So that's going to be a challenge. You went on BetQL to talk about it. We'll have Matt Perino on with us here later this hour.
Dude, I quoted you as well because PJ was pointing out. Now, if you're taking this from a betting standpoint, sure, we could talk about the lines of this game. But right now, to win the AFC East, the Bills are at plus money. And it makes sense. They're actually behind the Dolphins. And if the Dolphins win this, it's going to get even further. So PJ asked, which way would you bet? I'm like, well, PJ, honestly, I'd always take the plus money. Anybody should. But if you think that this is all going to be sewn up, well, my partner, Mike Danger, and it's right on tape. I put it on there. I'm quoting you, Mike Danger. Yes. It'll come down to week 18 for the Buffalo Bills.
I really believe that that's the game. You could lose on Sunday if you're the Bills. You don't want to lose on Sunday, but you could lose on Sunday and have that Week 18 game still be the game for the division. I can absolutely see that being the case. I could see the Bills and the Dolphins, fighting and clawing to 10 or 11 wins with that Week 18 matchup in Miami being for the division and for a playoff berth, with the loser getting sent home. I could totally see that happening. So it's not the end of the world if they end up losing on Sunday, if the Bills end up losing on Sunday. But you don't want to be in that position. You don't want to be in that hole 2 games down with, the tiebreaker going to Miami. But that Week 18 game, I think, is still the one that you have circled as that's the game that you will be for all of it. I could be completely wrong, too, but you've seen this time and time again. I mean, hell, just last night, Monday Night Football, Cincinnati gets off to a 1-2 start. They started off 0-2 last year as well. They got a win. Now, Cincinnati this year is different than Cincinnati last year, but teams that start off slow or teams that suffer a loss here or there, they do find their way back into contention. And Cincinnati may be one of those teams, even with a beat-up Joe Burrow. Yeah, you saw a lot of his playmakers around him step up their game here, knowing, hey, he shouldn't be out there.
Yeah.
He really should not have been out there. And you can tell he's not mobile. He's not able to do a lot of the things that you want him to do as your quarterback. But they did enough to get the win and to move to 1-2 last night against the LA Rams. So, a team even like Cincinnati at 1-2 right now with that 0-2 start, you can't count them out long term. And if the Bills lose to the Dolphins to fall to 2-2 on the season, your season is far from over. You're not going to count out the Buffalo Bills if they do suffer a loss on Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, Joe Burrow, first 2 weeks without a 20-yard completion. I think that's an interesting topic. Like, this year is not like previous years because your quarterback is out there and he's not 100%. And are you just going to kind of let him play with this nagging injury and it gets to December and it's not going to get any worse? I mean, I think this is a tough decision for Cincinnati. Probably the right thing to do is actually give him 3 to 4 weeks off and be ready. And, okay, we're not going to win the division, so be it. But we've won playoff games on the road. We've won in Tennessee. We've won in Arrowhead. We've won in Buffalo.
Yeah.
So why not give him a little time off?
But if you're Cincinnati, and it's, who is it, Jake Browning, I want to say, is their backup? Something like that.
Right. You're
losing those games. You're likely. Let's pull up the schedule and let's see, because I think you're right. The right thing to do is to let Joe Burrow get healthy and rest that leg so that they can be competitive down the stretch. But you might not be a down the stretch if you drop 3 or 4 games without Joe Burrow as your quarterback.
Well, at some point, I mean, they get the Titans in Tennessee this week. That should be a win. They go to Arizona. Should be a win. Seattle at home. Look, and if this is the Bengals of old, that's 3-0. I don't know if they go 1-2. Then they're bye, and then the 49ers. I don't know. It just seems like if you're going to play...
You can make the argument that they should shut him down now through the bye week so that he comes back against the Niners healthy. You could make that argument. I would listen to that.
Yeah. And then you get the Bills game on a Sunday night, and then it goes Texans, winnable game at Baltimore, home against Pittsburgh, at Jacksonville, the Colts, the Vikings. Who knows what the Vikings will be by that point. Steelers, Chiefs, Browns. That's a tough schedule overall.
Yeah, down the stretch for sure. But you have a little bit of a soft belly right now with the next 3 games into your bye week before you have to face San Francisco. I don't know. I don't think they'll do it. But it was clear from watching that game last night, he's not 100%. And it's also clear that Cincinnati can scratch out some wins and still be dangerous, even with a quarterback that's not at 100%. The point being here is the season isn't over just because you lose a game, even a divisional game, in week 4. You'll have time to try and make that ground up. You can't give up a lot of those games, and you need to rebound quickly. But that Week 18 game, Gino, you're right. That's the game that I think a lot of us should have circled as, all right, that game is going to mean a lot more than a Sunday in late September in Orchard Park.
Yeah, because really you look at the October schedule for Buffalo after you get past this game. Jacksonville and London, okay, the travel's the worst thing of it, but the Jaguars don't seem like this formidable foe. You're going to have to put up points in that game. You get the Giants. You're at New England. And then Tampa Bay comes in on a short week. Ooh. Yeah, that's shocking they lost last night.
I have a bit of news, not breaking news. This is personal news. I think I shared this yesterday, and I my lines get blurred all the time, Gino. I don't know if I share things with you on the air or off the air. I can't remember if yesterday I mentioned this or not, but my daughter, 19-year-old daughter, came back from a trip to California. And she was in California for work, and she met with a lot of people who were international. Entrepreneurs and such, Australian, English, et cetera, et cetera. And many of them said, wow, while we're here in America, we should go to a football game. We should go to an NFL game. They all wanted to go to an NFL game. They wanted to experience an NFL game. And that's not uncommon. Like I remember when we visited my wife's family in Italy, her cousin is like, yeah, if the next time I come to America, I have to go to a Bills game. I have to go to an NFL game. I have to see it. It's a bucket list thing. Like a lot of us would consider a World Cup match to be a bucket list thing, or a English Premier League match to be a bucket list thing.
Funny, that probably would have been like baseball 50 years ago, but this is what they're exposed to a little bit through television overseas. Sure. And yeah.
So because she was exposed to this group of entrepreneurs from overseas all talking about the NFL, she's like, wait a minute, why haven't I ever gone to an NFL game? And I'm like, well, quite frankly, I'm not taking you as a teenager, 14, 15-year-old girl to a football game. We can go when the time is right. She's like, well, when is the time right? I'm like, you want to go now? We'll go now. And she's like, yeah, I want to go to a football game. I want to go to a Bills game. I'm like, we're going. And so we're going. We're going on Sunday. I got the tickets. We're going on Sunday. She's got a lot of questions. She's not big into the tailgating thing. We took her to when she was a teenager. We took her to Penn State for a Penn State Ohio State whiteout a few years ago. She was 13, 14 years old, something, maybe even 15, and she was not about the tailgating. Just not about the whole scene of people drinking their faces off and looking around the corner. Oh, there's somebody yakking their brains out. Like she gets grossed out by that.
Yeah, and there is a debauchery element.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. And I can say that to her, but it doesn't fully prepare her for that. But she's like, can we limit the tailgating to like 10 minutes? I'm like, don't work that way. This is
no,
Leah.
Oh,
this
no,
is,
you got all morning here.
This is going to be a day-long excursion. So clear your decks, clear your calendar. We're making this an all-day thing. We're getting up early, we're going early, we're tailgating, we're doing the whole thing. Because you wanted to go to a Bills game, we're going to do it the right way. We're not going to show up late. We're not going to be amateurs about this. We're going to have some fun. And so, I'm excited to share this with her. But then she drops this on me. Oh, my God, I don't own any Bills gear. I'm like, well, I don't either. I mean, do you need to be wearing Bills gear? Is that a prerequisite? If you're going to a Bills game, must you be in, worst comes to worst, she'll just go to Wegmans and buy something in the little Bills section that they always have.
I'm sure you could go to Goodwill and pick up something from the 1980s. Like, honestly, okay, first piece of advice, you especially now, you got to go early. With that big mound of dirt across the street, there is less parking. I don't know if you have a game plan for parking. Also, the official lot's $50 now.
Ooh.
Yeah. So that's more expensive. So you got to figure out which satellite lot. I would highly recommend, coming up with a strategy there.
Yeah, so we've got to strategize all of that. She's got to get herself some Bills gear. I'm tempted to wear some Bills gear, but then I feel like I would be a fraud if I wore Bills gear because, I'm wearing it just to kind of blend in incognito style.
Here's what you can do. You would wear Sabres gear? Could you do that?
Yeah.
Or like an Amerks something?
Yeah. I've worn Sabres gear in the past.
Oh, no. Here's what you do.
To wear the Peterman?
Yes.
Nah.
Yes.
Nah. Can't do it, man.
Come on, why? Come on, people be like, woo, Peterman.
It's atrocious. It's atrocious. It conjures up bad memories. It's bad stirrings. No. But so that we'll be looking for you. That's the plan. Sunday, I'm taking her to her first Bills game. She's excited. I'm excited to share it with you. We'll be bouncing around from tailgate to tailgate. Want to try and find her. All of the debauchery, all of the stories, all of the legends of the Bills pregame. I want to make sure she experiences as much of it as she can.
I hate to break your heart, but you're not going to see anybody jumping through folding tables or anything like that. Like Bo from WBE, it's his first game too. And he's like, hey, I can't wait to. I'm like, dude, you have no idea. It's not like that. Honestly, yes, it's really distorted because here's this video and this is how all Bills fans act. Now, people will be drinking.
I know that it's not all like that. Because I've been to enough tailgates where I know, it's community, it's chill. There are a lot of people that are just eating their food, drinking their beers, and having a good time. But there are pockets and pieces and places where if you know where you're going and you go to the right spot.
Oh, you could search it out for sure.
That's
But I'm
right.
just saying, like, it's not going to, like, you're going to show up and you'll be like, oh my gosh, I'm in Hades. What's going on?
No. I know I'm not taking her to a scene from Caligula. It's just going to be fun. And I want her to experience and see as much of that as possible. I know we have some Bills fans that listen to us that are probably like, yeah, let's meet up. Let's do it. Let's get together.
Yeah. Chris writing in, Danger, you could skip the tailgate, grab some hot wings, blue cheese, and then after that, take her to the Bills game.
Oh, no. Have I become this guy?
Oh, yeah? Well, I'm going to go up to Buffalo, and I'm going to go get some hot wings and blue cheese. And then after that, I'm going to take my kids to the Bills game.
Oh, no.
That's you.
I've become that guy.
Oh, yeah? Well, I'm going to go to the tailgate at the Bills game, and I'm going to bring my kids. Maybe then after that, when we get home, we'll go to Abbott's to get some frozen custard. Oh, yeah?
Boy, the Dolphins and Tua.
Tua Tagovailoa. Yeah, that Tua.
That Mike McDaniel.
Well, it's going to be a good time. It's going to be an unbelievable atmosphere, I'm sure, and it's going to be a great game. Let's talk a little bit more about it. We'll look back at Sunday with Matt Perino next from the Syracuse Post-Standard. The Bills get big win in Washington. Look good doing it. A comfortable win against the Commanders. And now we look ahead to Miami. So we'll get into all of that next with our pal Matt Perino, the Shout Podcast, and the Syracuse Post-Standard, NewYorkUpstate.com. Our guest here in the Sports Bar, Danger and Battaglia on the Fan. Snap into action this NFL season with FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Mike Danger for FanDuel Sportsbook, the official partner of 95.7 The Fan. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action. The app is easy to use, and you've got a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. So visit FanDuel.com/Mike, M-I-K-E, to kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. 21 plus and physically present in New York. First online real money wager. Only $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued is non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. For help with a gambling problem, call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369.
Odyssey has sports for every fan.
speed element, and they do a great job. Like I said before, it's revolutionary, the scheme that they use, and it seems like they've added some things since last season at this point, and they're obviously giving people a lot of problems right now.
Matt Perino, Syracuse Post-Standard, will join us next year in the sports bar. Around the AFC East, the New York Jets plan to sign free agent quarterback Trevor Siemian. Rochester Nighthawks, their schedule is out. The home opener coming up on December 2nd against Calgary. One game right now in the majors, no score between the Dodgers and the Rockies. Gene Battaglia in the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950 and Rochester.
Top Shelf Sports Talk. You're hanging out in the sports bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan, Rochester.
You want to ask me about the fans? Nobody wants to ask about our fans yesterday, man. You guys don't talk about them enough. That's what I'm just saying. We're not talking about this team, that team, and certainly respect that. But you guys need to celebrate the fans more. I mean, that was incredible. I think it was louder when we were on defense than it was when they were on defense. It was a little bit like a home game for us there. Nobody travels like the Bills Mafia, so we really appreciate everyone showing up out there and showing out yesterday.
Bills head coach Sean McDermott hyping up the Bills fans who came out to Washington. They won't have to worry about any sort of loss of home field advantage. Of course, hosting Miami on Sunday. We'll talk a little bit about that here in a sec with Matt Perino of the Syracuse Post-Standard, the Shout podcast, who's always good with his time to join us on a Tuesday afternoon, talk about the Buffalo Bills. Matt, welcome back from the District of Columbia. That was about as comfortable a Bills win as I think we've seen in quite some time. And man, the defense really the highlight of that performance on Sunday.
Oh, yeah. I mean, this kind of was building. I felt like, the defensive line was a unit that was performing maybe at a level that the stats weren't even really, showing early in the season. I mean, the pressure rate, the way that they were, kind of operating and making things difficult on Jimmy Garoppolo, obviously Zach Wilson in week one. And it was exactly what you'd think would happen against an offensive line in Washington that's not very good, probably bottom half of the league, if not bottom third. And, it's important because we've been spending 4 years talking about Ed Oliver, right? Like, when is he going to finally find some level of consistency? And to be honest with you, I think he's been overall, from a consistency standpoint, the best Bills player on either side of the ball through the first 3 weeks of the season. And I mean, with Von Miller out, and we've talked about what that's going to look like on their offensive line, like they needed somebody to step up and assume that role of, the straw that stirs the drink. I said it on our show on Sunday, and Oliver's been that. I mean, from a pressure perspective, against the run, setting the tone with tackles for a loss, he's done all of that. And so I think we've seen the immediate impact of Leonard Floyd, a veteran, proven 10-sack kind of guy. Rousseau's been great. And then when you have a performance like Epinesa, and we could talk about Terrell Bernard, I mean, those are the kinds of things that get a defense going. And it's just in time because, it's only the best offense in the league on deck here on Sunday.
Yeah, well, let's start with Bernard. Matt Perino, Syracuse Post-Standard, also catch him with Ryan Talbot in the Shout podcast. We can be surprised by Bernard, and he's making these big plays as he did against Washington. He may be the AFC Defensive Player of the Week. Who knows? Garrett had a good game for Cleveland as well. But here's my question. It could be surprising maybe to us. Is it surprising for that Bills coaching staff and Sean McDermott that Bernard is playing at this level? No, and I mean, it's not overly surprising to me, and it's why I kind of pumped the brakes on the Terrell Bernard hate party after week one, when it was kind of looking a little bit like, all right, little late to his gaps, a little bit like swallowed up out there. It was his first start at middle linebacker after not playing in the preseason, and he's a second-year player. And I felt like, he'd be in the situation where the more snaps, the better. Let's look when we have like a larger sample size. I didn't project him to, turn into this, explosive splash play making leader on the defense like that he's been through the first 3 games of the season. I mean, crazy guys, like I put it out there Sunday, like Edmonds had 2 picks his entire rookie season, his first year at middle linebacker. Bernard's a sophomore, but like
this is his first 3 starts. He's been a linebacker. He's already equaled the season, splash play total of his predecessor. And that's massive. He had 5 interceptions, Edmonds did, in 4 seasons with the Bills. I mean, who knows? Bernard could get there in 1 year. So that's huge. And I also think, his size, he's more able to, I think, provide answers in coverage against the kind of speed that they'll see against some of the elite offenses. I thought Edmonds was a really good player, but against the elite offenses that had the Tyreek Hills of the world and some of these more explosive tight ends, his athleticism was neutralized at times in coverage. And I think Bernard is showing that, first of all, instinctually, he's built to play in Sean's defense. And I think Sean, to his credit, knew this since his conversations with his coach at Baylor, over a year ago. And he said it on Monday. He came with the football smarts. They knew the player they were getting. And I think that's why they were so comfortable with not addressing the position in free agency, despite all of the criticism from, people like myself included that was slung at them. Early returns are good, but again, it's early, so we got to use perspective.
So much of success, whether you're talking about Bernard or anybody on the team, and Bernard has a little bit of this now that he's had interceptions in 2 straight games and he's coming off this big game in Washington. It's confidence, Matt. It's confidence for these guys. And one guy that we were worried about last week, and we may have even touched on it when you stopped by last Tuesday, is Trey White. And he might not look like he looked pre-ACL injury. And Sean McDermott even acknowledged as much last week when he spoke to the media and said, yeah, we see glimpses from time to time of pre-ACL Trey White. Well, Trey White made a play against Washington that you would imagine helps boost his confidence. What have your eyes seen in the play of the Bills' top corner?
Yeah, I think he's still kind of revving back up, and who knows? I don't know if he's ever going to be full-time the player that he was. I mean, that's 2 years ago. He's an older player. I think the best players in sports find a way to evolve as their athleticism diminishes, as they just get a little bit slower, or the eyes aren't working the same way. I mean, you're battling all that without an ACL injury, and I think he's been solid. I think there's been times where it's been I actually went into the game last week saying on one of the shows that that was one area of concern against Terry McLaurin, who's a really good player, and I thought all the plays that he made in that game were in front of Trey White, and he never looked overmatched. And to make a play like that, your assessment of how important confidence is for some of these players, it's huge for him. Tre'Davious White hasn't talked to the media since the end of last season. At some point, I can't remember what it was. He's refusing to do so, so much so that he's probably going to start getting fined. I don't know the reason. There have been some conversations that have been had, but obviously maybe a player that dealing with some confidence issues, coming back, not being the same version of yourself. I mean, I would guess that that's a hard thing to deal with. And so if he can build on a good performance and, start to kind of string some of those together. I thought he got better over the course of last season. So you really want him to be as close to that version by the end of the season. Is he that right now? No. This is a big game this week, and this Miami Dolphins team is going to challenge them in ways they know what's coming. And that's why Sean McDermott was so quick to bring it up in his post-game press conference. I think that they should really consider bringing up Kaiir Elam in this matchup for some type of run. I don't know if that means starting him. Christian Benford had that one play, as good as he's been, and this is not a knock on Benford. I think he's been really good. But where I think Elam is better is that recover speed when a guy does get past you on a move, to be able to use your speed and get back and be competitive in the play. Curtis Samuel blew by Benford, and Benford couldn't recover. And that was a big-time play. And who knows, they go on and score. Maybe it's a different game. I'm not sure. But I think with his press ability, Kaiir Elam, and his ability to run with some of the speed that the Dolphins present, I wouldn't be surprised if he's a game day active on Sunday.
Matt Perino, Syracuse Post Standard, is now we look ahead here to the Dolphins. And Matt, sticking with the defense, and you mentioned that Miami speed. And if there is one thing that for years you didn't have to worry about in Buffalo, it's actually my number one concern on defense this week. How are the safeties for Buffalo, Poyer and Hyde, going to deal with this speed? And I'm just curious how McDermott's going to use them. Is he going to put them up high? Because, well, then Tua can pick you up apart underneath. If you get a little more aggressive, well, you could, give up the big play. So Matt, your thoughts on those two safeties here, and do they have one more run in them here to come up big this Sunday?
Yeah, and I think there's a couple things. Like, first of all, like, Tua likes to play the dink and dunk game and then try to hit you over the top. And I think Micah Hyde, now 4 games into the season, he looked like he was moving around a little bit better. Like, when you don't play football for a year, it's just like you probably just got to get your timing back and, the way that all kind of comes back to you. And I thought he looked the best that he has in that Washington game. So I think if Tua wants to take deep shots, I still would argue that there's not many guys that you want back there more than you want Micah Hyde. Now Poyer, he's got really the hardest job because he's got to play that deep safety spot at times, but also be super aggressive against their running game. Like, that to me is the thing that makes Miami so good. If you just had to deal with their pass game and preparing for that, it's one thing. But they run and they can roll through running backs and do all these different things with the motion that they do, the misdirection, just the simplest concepts. They're so excellent at all of them under Mike McDaniel that it puts a guy like Poyer in a lot of tough spots. And I thought he played well against the Dolphins last year, and they're going to need him to probably have his best game of the year because of all the things that they're going to ask him to do in this game. I think Bernard playing at the level that he is at, and obviously you have Matt Milano, it helps. But, man, you're right. A lot on the plate of Jordan Poyer and Micah Hyde this week.
And we talked a little bit about how good the defensive line for the Bills have been playing so far this year, at Oliver specifically. I mean, do the Bills have enough here, and can they affect the Dolphins' offense by just rushing forward? Do you expect Sean McDermott to be a little bit more aggressive against Tua and try to force a mistake?
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if there's a couple of different, maybe a little bit more aggressive with the way that they stunt. And rush the 4 when they do, and adding an extra rusher in at times, maybe a couple. You got to be careful because, to your point on the speed, like if you're sending 6 at any point, or even 5, like somebody back there is going to be left on an island with somebody potentially, and that's the situation you don't want to be in. The idea that I like this week is maybe throwing Rousseau in at defensive tackle like a little bit more, even like for 15% of his snaps, because of his length. Like, I think that's one of the other thing that you have to do, and the Bills do as good a job of this as anybody. And, like, I think it was last week that Epinesa had a play where he was landing at Jimmy Garoppolo, and instead of, lunging to try to tackle him, he just got his arms up, affected the pass, and ended up being an interception.
Yeah.
And those are the things you got to do. And Rousseau, with his size in the middle, if you're going to affect throwing lanes for Tua, that could be when, he's got to, pull and rear back the arm for a second, readjust, and then throw with pressure in his face. Those are the moments that you want. So there's a lot of things that I think he can do, McDermott. I don't know if he's going to be necessarily more aggressive blitzing. They really emphasized last season, I remember talking about this in the 3 games, population to the football. No matter where you are in your zone, you have to locate the football, know where it's going, and anticipate and get bodies there. And that's the thing that what also I saw watching this Broncos game back is these guys, they break tackles. They bounce off tacklers. And then if you bounce off of a tackle with the kind of short area quickness that Mostert, Hill, Waddle, and now Achane have, they're gone. And you're looking at 20 yards after the catch. You're looking at touchdowns. So that's the thing that I think the Bills do a little bit better than the first 3 teams that the Dolphins played, is not giving them those second opportunities. But we'll see. It's easier said than done.
Yeah, Dolphins putting up 70 points. The Bills putting up 37. The over-under this week, the highest on the board at 53.5. And Matt, would you agree with this statement or not? I don't think the Bills want to get into a shootout with this team. Do we expect maybe a more conservative Buffalo offense to keep the Miami offense off the field?
I mean, yeah, you don't want to get in a shootout, but let's not forget the fact that they scored, 64 on them in the last 2 games that they played against them. This isn't a defense that scares the Bills. And they've had a lot of success against the Miami Dolphins. So I think this passing game, to me, they play a lot of nickel coverage, which to me, you don't have Jalen Ramsey. So you've had to adjust, and you have Xavier Howard on one side. You moved Kohu out from nickel to the boundary, and they're playing Bethel, who's primarily a special teamer, at the nickel corner spot. He's done well. But, to me, this might be the Dalton Kincaid game. The Bills have not found a way to get him consistently involved. They tried to feed him early against the Commanders, and then they went in another direction. And, I think that middle, that short area and middle, and even intermediate and deep, Kincaid should be able to put pressure on them, especially when they try to play man coverage and put 2 safeties deep. Go over the middle of the field and go find your rookie that you paid all this money to and see if that can kind of open some things up and then maybe open up the door to more running as well. So I think there's a lot of things this Bills offense can do against this team. Of course, if it's a shootout like this Miami team, if they have the ball last, you're going to be in a bad spot. But I don't think the Bills offense is worried about this Dolphins defense. Maybe I'll eat my words next Tuesday.
Talk a little bit about the last 2 games for James Cook. I mean, 6.5 yards per carry against Washington on Sunday, making the most of his opportunities, although it does seem like Ken Dorsey's dialing up running plays early in drives, early down in distance, and not seeing a ton of success on 1st and 10, 2nd and long. What are your eyes seeing as far as Ken Dorsey's game plan and how he's using James Cook so far this season?
I like the how many pitches Ken Dorsey has seemingly been able to add to his repertoire, right? If we're looking at this through the lens of a pitcher, if you just got the fastball, which that's really what they've had the last couple of years, Devin Singletary, Zach Moss, are kind of the same guys. They didn't really use Cook a lot early in the last season. I thought you started to develop some of that down the stretch, but now with Cook as a featured guy, you can go with that approach. He's very good on the edge. I really like the way that he picks up speed as he's hitting his turn. But when you bring out Latavius Murray and Damian Harris, you got your slider, you got your curveball. Those guys are different. Defenses have to play against them differently. Talking to guys trying to tackle Latavius Murray, I mean, he's such an awkward player because he's so tall. He's unorthodox because he runs like a smaller player, but he's got that size and physicality, and he's really good in the red zone, as evidenced by the fact that he leads the team in rushing touchdowns already this season. And then Harris is just kind of a do a little bit of everything back. I mean, did you guys catch that kick return he had the other day?
Yeah.
He's really sneaky athletic and can do multiple things, and I feel like they have 3 different backs with 3 different skill sets. And that to me is interesting, and Dorsey's leaned into that. And even when they haven't panicked when the running back game hasn't been working, and they haven't gone away from it either in any of these 3 games. Now, it's going to be harder to do that this week because Miami, like you've both mentioned, they're going to score points. And how patient can you be if it's not working? And, they've gone to a Josh-heavy approach in the past against this team. So so many little intricacies, so many little details within the details that are going to be, what we end up talking about on Sunday evening.
Yeah. Matt, before we ask you, your outlook for this game, I'm just curious, one final thought going back to Washington there. What was that atmosphere like? Was it more Bills fans? That stadium is a way past, it's an expiration date. Your thoughts on what you saw down there last week from the Buffalo fan base and, the need for a new stadium down there in D.C.?
I didn't think it was as bad as everybody makes it out to be. I mean, I've seen worse stadiums. To be honest with you, I think Lambeau's kind of a dump. That's probably sacrilegious to say that. But I mean, when we got there, I wasn't super impressed with it. The drive-in was whatever. It was kind of a nice drive-in to the stadium, and then you get there, and it looks like a run-of-the-mill stadium. And then you get inside, and it was fine. Bills Mafia. I was standing out on the sideline for the pregame show, and one of the security guards and I started, having a conversation, and he said, "Man, I do not like this, man. Bills Mafia, dude. It's for real. Teams don't travel like this." And I mean, they were there. They were out there. They piled down to the front row before the game, and they're all just waiting to get a glimpse of everything. And it sets the stage early. And then during the game, I mean, you could hear it on the broadcast. I went back and watched it back. Like, McDermott wasn't lying. There were times when it was like the Bills fans were louder than the Commanders fans. And it's not surprising. I mean, that team's been kind of like stuck in the Snyder era, and they're just starting to get things back a little bit. It's funny, my brother-in-law, he lives in Virginia outside of D.C. at Fairfax, huge Commanders fan. And we always talk back and forth, and they made a little video before the game because my whole family are Bills fans, and he sent it along of him like talking some trash. And apparently he was watching it with his wife and 2 kids, and he had to like retreat to his bedroom to watch the second half. It was a tough night. And then I went over to his house after. We had a little chicken parm, and he didn't want to talk about things. So it was kind of funny.
All right, Matt. So it's only Tuesday, so we don't need to get your full prediction for this weekend. But do you have a lean? What are your thoughts here as you start to evaluate the Bills and the Dolphins going into Sunday?
I really don't have a pick yet, and I'm not going to make it until I get a chance to be in the building this week and get a better feel for the preparation and just the vibes. Like I mentioned, I don't think this is a Bills team that's scared of the Dolphins. Like, I think that they've had a lot of success. They have a really, really detailed understanding of their personnel. With that said, I think the Dolphins are playing just such great football right now. They know who they are. They know what they have to do. If Connor Williams can play and that line is healthy, that's such a huge piece of this. Like, I'm leaning the Dolphins, to be honest with you. And that's a tough pick because, like, I've loved almost everything I've seen from the Bills the last 2 weeks. It's just that offense is playing at a level that the Denver Broncos were just defeated in that game. They wanted to be off the field. Like, they didn't want to do it anymore. Now, the Bills, defensively, they're going to have more answers. They're better at all 3 levels. But I'm leaning the Dolphins, but I won't make my pick till Friday.
Matt, you're the best. Appreciate you, and we'll check out the Shout podcast as well. Thanks for your time today, bud.
Thanks, boys. Have a good week.
You got it, Matt Perino. Syracuse Post-Standards. You can read his work at NewYorkUpstate.com. Hear him and Ryan Talbot on the Shout podcast throughout the course of this week as we get you ready for Bills, Dolphins coming up here Sunday afternoon.
Boy, he's ready with take. That was like take, opinion. Just get ready. It's going to be a lot of this. And I kind of agree with him on that. Like, because which way am I leaning? I honestly don't know. Yeah, we're going to talk to Armando Salguero tomorrow, who doesn't cover the Dolphins anymore. He's NFL at large now for Outkick, but he certainly is based in Miami, and I'd be curious to get his thoughts tomorrow at 4:25.
It sure feels like the Dolphins are going to come in with all of the heat of a 70-point performance, and it's going to win a lot of favor from people that, you know, maybe haven't watched the Bills as closely as we have. The point that Perino just made that I love, that Buffalo's not going to be afraid of Miami. Like, they're not going to look at Miami at 3-0 and be like, ooh, the Dolphins.
Oh, my goodness. Look, this is McDermott at his best, revolutionary.
Yeah,
okay.
He's really hyping him up. Mm-hmm. Really, really hyping him up. And what we know about the NFL, and we see it time and time again, what looks revolutionary for a period of time eventually wears thin and goes away. Teams get smart. Teams can scheme and find ways to defeat what it is that you've gotten really good at. I mean, you watched the Rams last night? Remember what Sean McVay's offense used to look like? Doesn't look like that anymore.
Nope.
Doesn't look like that anymore. Teams get smart.
I'm like, wait a second, that was a Super Bowl match from 2 years ago?
Yeah, right. It's realistic to think that Sean McDermott might be the first head coach / defensive coordinator to look at what Miami has done so far this year and come up with a way to actually neutralize it, slow it down, or completely stop it altogether. I'll listen to that. Going to be a great game. You can hear it here on the Fan Rochester. Our pregame coverage Sunday morning gets underway at 9 a.m. Kickoff just after 1 o'clock as the Bills host the Miami Dolphins. And when I was thinking about this weekend's game, like, this is like the last 1 o'clock kickoff for the Bills until what?
Well,
Thanksgiving?
They're October 22nd. They're in New England at 1 o'clock. But at home.
Yes.
Yeah, I think this is it, right?
Yeah. Yes. There's some primetime games in there. There's a late afternoon, I want to say, against the Jets. Yeah, this is going to feel for being a 1 o'clock game. The team that wants to be playing in a routine and in a rhythm and playing at a set time every week, that's not what the Bills are anymore, man. They move them about the chessboard all over the place.
If you give up 70 points in the NFL, you are in hot water.
Who's in hot water?
That
Gene?
would be Vance Joseph. He still has a job, but maybe not for long.
Maybe it's the diversity in his background that's helping him out. I don't know. I mean, it just feels like Vance Joseph, no matter where he is or what team he's coaching for, he's having the time of his life.
Beth, Coach, it's a pleasure to be with you guys here on the field from up close, just watching Coach Vance Joseph from here. You watch him now on the screen. This diversity in his background is helping him a lot tonight. Quarterback at Colorado, defensive back in the NFL, and here he is having the time of his life this night, making his head coaching debut.
God bless Sergio Dip.
Gosh, can we bring back Sergio Dip?
God bless that guy. Fantastic.
See how good hot water can be at Ace Swim and Leisure. They've been serving Rochester area families since 1962. It isn't very often that something comes along as cool and different as the all-new jacuzzi swim spa. It's the right size. It's the right price. It's the pool spa combo that gives you the pro-grade water workout and therapeutic water massage. See the all-new jacuzzi swim spa for yourself at Ace Swim and Leisure's Chilai Avenue store today or aceswim.com.
I think right now Vance Joseph is actually having the time of his life.
No justice for Sergio. He disappeared after that. It's too bad.
They didn't even let him do another hit after that.
It's a shame. It really is. You can join us at 866-432-6585-866-4FAN. We'll get to some takes next with I'll Drink to That.
Yeah, I've got some opinions on what we saw from Philadelphia last night and how actually this might actually be a good sign for the whole world here. And it's not an NHL preseason hockey take, but I'm going to say something I don't say something very often. The NHL actually does something right as compared to other leagues. What could that be?
A lot of people have been talking the last 24 hours the effect that Taylor Swift has had on Travis Kelce jersey sales. Taylor Swift will have an effect on the NFL, on the culture around the NFL. There's so many opportunities for Taylor Swift that will be available to her. She can change the world with this additional newfound exposure that she's getting by dating Travis Kelce.
I saw this video, too. She must love this. She walked into the stadium, and no one bothered her.
Right.
Wow. I could just be a normal person?
Wow.
Wow.
We'll see about that, Taylor. Michael F. Florio of NFL Network will talk some fantasy football coming up here after 4 o'clock as well. Stay in the sports bar. Danger and Battaglia on the Fan Rochester.
Odyssey has sports for every fan. Keep up with your favorite teams from across the country and get the inside scoop from experts. AUD
Rochester and streaming online and in the Odyssey app at The Fan Rochester, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan Rochester.
Always live on the free Odyssey app.
The Fan Rochester Sports Update.
Bills players off as they are on a Tuesday. Point spread now Buffalo by 3. Sean McDermott wants his team focusing on what's important.
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be a lot of things we have to stress. We'll start with fundamentals. We need to get better with some of our fundamentals. I think that's got to be a point of emphasis.
We'll talk some fantasy football coming up later this hour. Michael F. Florio from the NFL Network will be joining us. New York Jets plan to sign free agent quarterback Trevor Siemian. Rochester Nighthawks schedule is out. Their home opener against Calgary. It'll be on December 2nd. One game in the majors right now. The Dodgers behind in Colorado. Rockies up 3-0 there in the third. Yankees playing out the string. They're on the road tonight in Toronto. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan Rochester.
The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia.
Bills, Dolphins, 1 o'clock. Wow. Sunday.
Mike Danger.
Just paint a picture. How insane is Orchard Park going to be Sunday with everything that's on the line for this game and the way this team is playing right at this moment?
Oh, man. This Sunday is going to be fireworks.
Gene Battaglia.
I think this is going to be a lot of fun for a lot of old-timers like yourself and me that remember what Bills Dolphins used to mean way back in the day. And, I don't know, is this becoming a rivalry, Danger?
It's absolutely a rivalry.
Biggest regular season Bills-Dolphins game since...
maybe ever.
Indeed.
Bills fans are going to be ready for this. Oh, my gosh. When does the tailgating start here?
The Monday night doubleheader, that was kind of aight.
Eagles are now 3-0 for the second consecutive season.
I think Cincinnati's done.
Coffin nails! Bam!
Travis Kelce, Taylor Swift, power couple in the NFL.
Travis Kelce's had a lot of big catches in his career. This would be the biggest.
I want to kiss you.
Final week of the MLB regular season.
It is the preseason home opener here at KeyBank Center tonight. Go Sabres!
95.7 FM and AM 950, The Fan Rochester.
As we enter our little take space here with I'll Drink to That in the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia, we welcome you on in. Appreciate you listening. And 95.7 FM, AM 950, the free-to-download Odyssey app, your smart device, when you ask it to play 95.7 The Fan. Even our video stream for you at The Fan Rochester on YouTube and Twitch. I'm going to go ahead and say it. The Bengals get-ups last night, that is alternate uniforms done right. Every other team is playing for second place. Those are the sharpest alternates, save for maybe a throwback or two. And look, the season is young. We've yet to see Bucko Bruce show up again.
We've yet to see the Eagles' Kelly Green.
That's right.
So there's some other things out there.
But, while I feel like the whiteout didn't quite match the intensity of what you see at a Penn State whiteout, the Cincinnati whiteout was nice. It wasn't quite a full whiteout. The jerseys, the uniforms, the all white, the zebra looking, those are sharp. Those are sharp. And given what we saw out of them last night, Jamar Chase showed up. I'm wondering, and we'll ask Michael F. Florio later this hour from the NFL Network when we talk some fantasy football. I wonder if now is a great buy low opportunity on the Bengals offense, specifically T. Higgins, who's been virtually invisible through the course of this year. And I wonder also if that's by design. Is there somebody telling...
Oh, well, if it's by design, then they've got issues.
That's
here.
the Bengals.
That's terrible.
That's the Bengals, though. Wouldn't it just be the Bengals way? Like, we can't afford to pay all these guys. You can.
So you think maybe they're driving down the price on T. Higgins to bring him back by feeding him the ball less? I don't think. I think it's basically you have a quarterback that probably should be taking a few weeks off so he's fully healthy. I mean, we'll talk about that with Michael F. Florio. That's an interesting theory, though. Yeah. I wouldn't put it... If there's one team that I would say, oh, that wouldn't surprise me.
Possible,
yeah.
Right? It's possible. It is a take space, after all. It's a safe space for takes. You can join us at 866-4FAN, 585-866-4326. It's time for I'll Drink to That.
Yeah, Eagle fan, you feeling a little bit better today? Because, yeah, you were 2-0 entering last night, but every Eagle fan I talked to, Danger, was like, yeah, but this doesn't pass the eye test. They're fine last night. And when you consider this, come to find out, Jalen Hurts under the weather, some flu-like bug running around the team. He wasn't the only one.
Whoa. Are you serious?
Wait a second here. I thought if you were under the weather, you had to stay home. Weren't these the new rules?
What happened to abundance of caution? Where?
No.
What about new strains? Is this a new strain? Do we know?
Come on. Get back. I love this. Okay, you're under the weather. Boo-hoo. Go to work. Go to school.
Wasn't it crazy how, for guys like you and I, that we had to alter every fiber of our being during the pandemic and really kind of play along with this abundance of caution and keep your distance and wear your masks and do all the things. And now we're back at it. Right now we're allowed to be what we truly are, which is like, yeah, don't come to me with your I'm sick. I need a mental health day. Get out of here. You show up, you do your job, you show up, you say yes, you go to work.
Yeah, you can play football when you're a little under the weather, come to find out.
Not 100%, but still out there with flu-like symptoms. Okay. Did anybody were there tests being administered before to determine what kind of flu we're talking about here? You know who looks good for the Eagles, by the way? Jalen Carter is going to be a really, really good NFL player for a long time.
So that one play where he gets off the line and he goes down the field and he does the peanut punch there practically. Yeah.
There wasn't a lot of great football last night. I mean, the Mike Evans, catch was great, but the Jalen Carter, the play of Jalen Carter was spectacular. And the Bengals defense looked good as well against the Rams. But both games were kind of like just so-so. Nothing really competitive about. They weren't as entertaining as I think we would want to see out of a Monday night game.
I've got bad news. I have low expectations for the Seahawks and Giants this coming Monday night. Ugh.
Yeah. Okay. Here's you heard it in the open, and I'm still kind of stunned. Was that Bill Belichick delivering a line, a joke with a punchline, and actually seeing it land on our Odyssey Sports sister station, WEEI? Travis Kelce's made a lot of great catches, but this is his best catch ever. Whoa. It is a big pull for Kelce. An even bigger pull for the business of the NFL. The Swifties buying Kelce jerseys, that's just the beginning. Gene, who's playing on Sunday night?
Oh, no.
We can't flex this? It's the Jets and the Chiefs. Not as sexy a matchup with Aaron Rodgers out for the entire season. Is it? Enter Taylor Swift. If she shows up at MetLife, you'll once again have eyeballs on a game which should be less than competitive when you consider it's Zach Wilson versus Patrick Mahomes. So why stop at TV ratings, Gino? Taylor, there are Native Americans who would like to talk with you. You see, for years, Chiefs fans have been doing this tomahawk chop. We find it to be a racist act, and we'd really, really like for it to end. Can you please put out a plea to Chiefs Kingdom? And that, by the way, is actually happening. We just get to sit back with our popcorn and watch the fireworks. This is going to be magnificent to watch from a distance. The chaos that unfolds in Kansas City.
I cannot wait to see, though, because Taylor Swift is not the queen of Chiefs Kingdom. She's a newcomer. That would be Patrick Mahomes' wife, Brittany Mahomes.
Yes.
Like, what does Brittany Mahomes think of all this attention?
The attention isn't on her.
Uh-huh.
Oh, my God. Oh, listen, it's going to get catty.
Well, the pressure that Patrick has to go home, he just wants to unplug. Okay, he wants to watch a little film, maybe put on a little Netflix, whatever he wants to do. But he's got to be like, hearing this when he goes home, this is fantastic.
Yeah.
Yes, we should want Taylor Swift everywhere.
What if Brittany Mahomes becomes BFFs with Taylor Swift? What if the two of them, what if there's double dates in their future and it just becomes a...
No, that's what Brittany wants. Taylor does not want Brittany.
Taylor doesn't... The thing is... Like, there was something crossed my feed that were like notes that were given to Taylor about the Chiefs and about the game. And like somebody said, this can't be real. I'm like, oh, no, it can be real. I would believe that everything in her life is orchestrated. Everything in her life is prepared in advance. Every photo opportunity, every event that she attends, she's not showing up blindly. She's showing up with somebody handing her notes, handing her a script, handing her an agenda.
That's how those people roll, Danger. They come in, they hire people so that they're fully prepared. And even though I think what we saw online was kind of a joke, but she didn't go. Somebody got her the Chiefs colored clothing.
Yeah.
Okay? Like she didn't do that on her own.
Hey, I'm gonna enjoy it while we have it, and I know I can be harsh on Taylor Swift, and I'm not. It's not for me. It's not my brand. It's not. She's not my favorite human in the world. But there is something that I do appreciate about her is that when she shows up, even if it's an act, it's a display of just youthful exuberance, an enthusiasm and an excitement for whatever it is, wherever she is. I can appreciate that. That's very on brand for her. And even if it's fake, which it probably is, even if it's fake, she pulls it off. So I'll give her credit for that.
I just want to hit the fast forward button to the ending.
It's going to end with her snapping her fingers like Thanos from the Avengers and Kelsey just disappearing into the ether, just like flecks of dust.
No, wouldn't it be great though if Kelsey decided, hey, I'm also dating so-and-so, and like all of a sudden Kelsey becomes this will be good for his brand if he's the one that breaks Taylor's heart.
What if Kelsey puts a ring on it? We haven't explored that.
Oh, gosh.
That angle, that option. What if Kelsey puts a ring on it? I mean, she was hanging out with his mom. They're getting to know each other.
Yeah, that was something. Well, I don't know how to follow that up to give you a preseason hockey. Yes, we have. I know that this is like a big old Francesa. Who cares? Like NHL preseason hockey.
Preseason hockey.
Oh, who cares?
Yeah. But here's the point. The NHL does something better than any other league. It's a short preseason. The time between the opening of Sabres training camp and opening of the regular season, you know how long that is? 1 month. Exactly. 1 month. Let's compare that to the Buffalo Bills. Okay, if you backed it up, September 11th was the opener. If you backed that up, the team had already broken camp from Fisher. It's crazy to think that Major League Baseball, same way. The NFL, the same way. And if you need me to explain why this is, the answer is very simple. There's no money to be had in NHL preseason hockey. There's plenty of it in other sports. The NFL could easily begin camp at mid-August, but why would you want to forego all that revenue?
Yeah, follow the dollars. Follow the dollars. The NFL knows they have something that works. If they shorten the preseason, it will be at the expense of a longer regular season. They're not in the business of losing money. They're not in the business of going backwards. I mean, we were just joking about the pandemic. I mean, think about that. The pandemic forced them to actually take an L for a season. Do you think that long term that L really hurts them? They're fine. They're going to be okay. They've more than made up for whatever it is that they lost during the pandemic, and now they're moving forward. The train doesn't slow down.
It does not.
They're going to be fine. All right, Gino, before we get to Michael F. Flory of NFL Network to talk some fantasy, I know you've been waiting. It's time. And I'm curious, too. I didn't look. I didn't peek. I don't know what direction you're going. So you've got me on the edge of my seat, my fingers on the pulse. I'm ready to make my selection for week 4. But first, I have to hear your advice.
I've had people reaching out to me directly, which you could always do, but figure each week at this time, we're going to give you the winner.
As long as we're playing and we're still alive.
That's right.
Yeah.
Oh, we're playing and we're still alive. Look, these are the rules here. At least the rules of the game the rules are simple of the game itself. You can only pick a team once, and once you use that team, you can't use them again. But there are additional guidelines, and it's the process of elimination here. You don't want to take road teams. Dallas, come on, they're not going to lose to Arizona. They did. Sorry, you're out. No divisional games. Come on, Houston, rookie quarterback going to Jack.
Yeah.
You're out.
Yeah.
You're out. The Vegas line is our guy. The favorite you pick must be giving more than 5 points. No savers. Savers are losers. Big losers.
What, you mean the person who's saying, I haven't used Kansas City yet. I'm just going to wait until I actually can use them later this season.
Correct.
That's bad play.
Correct.
Yeah.
Bad hedgers are losers. I enjoy this time of year because the person that put in 5 entries in your pool, maybe they still have 1 left. One pool, 1 pick. Bad defenses are bad plays. This comes into focus now, Danger. The 5 worst passing defenses in the NFL. I present to you, which is actually kind of surprising here, a couple of them. The Titans, you wouldn't figure that. The Broncos, well, duh. The Bears, of course. Seahawks. And this is the one, keep in the back of your mind, the Chargers. Don't be fooled by anything offense. Their defense is sad.
Yeah.
Keep that in the back of your mind for later.
I know this is a stat that isn't really relevant to what you're talking about because you're talking about defenses, but I just found it to be an interesting stat. The team that scored the most points per game so far this season is the Miami Dolphins, and it's by a lot because of the 70-point game. Do you know the team that's second in points per game in average behind the Miami Dolphins?
I do not.
It's the Buffalo Bills.
Even after that stink
30.3 points per game through 3 weeks of the season.
Probably the Raiders would be a team you wouldn't want to put on that bad defenses list too here at this point. Avoid taking the team that is playing at home for a second consecutive week. No shame in picking against the bad team week after week. Unfortunately, that's not how this is going to fall this week. This is a tough week. And no kill shot, okay? Don't override logic. Last week, it was so clear. Take Kansas City. Relax. Enjoy. We didn't even break a sweat. It wasn't even close. And we were laughing. And, yeah, for everybody that went for the kill shot last week, sorry. We'll talk to you next week.
There are weeks where you're going to sweat, which is what makes this game fun.
It makes it great. So, to kind of review, we took week 1, we took Baltimore over Houston. Can't use Baltimore. Week 2, we took your Buffalo Bills at home against the Raiders. Can't use Buffalo. And last week, we took Kansas City at home against Chicago. So those are the 3 teams we can't. So no Chiefs over the Jets. And regardless, we wouldn't be touching Browns, Ravens, or Dolphins, Bills anyways for this week. So we want to eliminate the divisional games. There are 4 this week. The Lions and Packers are Thursday Night Football. The Commanders and Eagles. Tempting on the Eagles? No, we're not going to do it. The Bucks and the Saints, Raiders and Chargers? No. Like, oh, there's another one. Like they're going to move this one to the side. The Cardinals are 14-point underdogs going to San Francisco.
That's a divisional game, though.
It is. We have to explore this one.
Okay.
Cross off.
14 points, 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Like if you went out because
and they won. They just beat Dallas.
They just won. That's how much everybody loves the Niners here. Cross off any team that is favored by less than 5. So no, we do not want Jacksonville. This game's in London anyways against the Falcons. The 2-1 Colts. They're actually favored by a point against the Rams. No, we don't want that. And we just brought up the Giants. Yeah, Giants, Seahawks. No way. New York is favored by 1.5. Eliminate the road favorites. How bad are the Chicago Bears, Mike Danger? How bad are they, Gene? Well, let me tell you, they're 3-point underdogs to a team that just gave up 70 points.
At home.
Look, this is
at home.
At home.
Yeah.
Well, this is the only chance I have to pick the Broncos. Let me use them now. No!
Don't do it.
No kill shot. That is how you lose. Run from that game. And it's just a shame that we can't go pick against the Bears or pick against the Broncos. They play each other.
Yet. Down the road, possibly.
We're only looking through the Week 4 prism, Mike Danger.
That's right.
Steelers giving 3 in Houston. Nope, that's a road game. And for some reason, Minnesota's favored by 3.5 in Carolina. Can you explain that to me? Like, why are the Vikings good? We're not taking Carolina. No, not taking any underdog, please. Well, this only leaves us 2 places to go here. Now, if we're following the rules here, it would be Dallas. Dallas is at home giving 7 against New England. But there are some factors in this game, okay? Number 1, I'm sorry, Josh Dobbs was throwing a little bit against this Dallas defense last week. You do have Bill Belichick. That would be pretty ballsy if we said, yeah, you know what? We're picking against Bill Belichick.
It's a good defense.
It is.
Bad defenses are bad plays. The New England is a good defense.
They have and even though they have a crappy offense, this game will be close.
Yep.
So if you're going to go that direction, it's time to sweat. Or do we violate our own rules here? Do we go with the Niners at home against Arizona, giving up 14? Now, let me just point out, there are 2 rule violations here. like the divisional game. And then I go back to rule number 7, Mike Danger.
2 home games in a row.
Right. You don't get that bounce here.
Oh, boy.
Okay, this is a tough one.
Yeah, this is tough. This is a tasty matchup, Gino. I mean, San Francisco looks like the best team in the NFL through 3 weeks of the season.
Mike Danger, that would be the wrong play.
What?
Wrong play.
Come on.
I'm channeling Jerry Jones. I have the confidence of Jerry Jones. He is pleased with our selection.
Oh, no.
Oh, boy. Jerry knows smart business, and we know smart survivor football. We are not going to violate our own rules in week 4. Dallas, the Dallas Cowboys are the week 4 selection.
Oh, no.
Jerry and I thank you, and you can thank me on Monday.
This one stings a little bit, Gino. I don't know that I can agree with you on this one because I'm the one that said last week, the letdown is coming, Cowboy fans. The letdown is coming.
But you know I'm right, because we're going to bounce back, and we're not going to let Zeke Elliott, of all people, come into our house.
Well,
No,
that's
we're
a
not
reason to believe that the Patriots might actually gain an advantage. You don't think that they're going to utilize Zeke's intel and what Zeke knows about a Mike McCarthy offense and Dallas in general to their advantage in New England?
I like teams coming off a loss, like the way Arizona, how that game
They embarrassed them.
They did. So, like for Dallas, pick yourself up. Yeah, it's a sine wave. Dallas will be up this week. Are you on board with me or not, Mike Danger?
I think I need a little time.
Oh, come on.
I think I need a little
Come
time.
on.
No, I'm not going to lie. When I looked at the schedule for week 4, Dallas was the one that did pop off the page to me. Even after losing the way they lost to Arizona. And for a lot of the reasons we just discussed. Like, they got talent on that roster. They should be able to do more than what they did against Arizona. I don't want to believe that Trayvon Diggs' injury is that detrimental to their defense. You still have Micah Parsons. Mac Jones isn't very good.
What's going on with Arizona, too? Because they could have had that game against the Commanders. They did have that game against the Giants, and they beat the Cowboys. You would think that's a team that should be rolling over, and they're not.
They don't have the winning culture. Like maybe that win against Dallas helps them, and maybe that's a good reason to avoid that divisional matchup against the Niners. Maybe they give the Niners a little bit more than the Niners are expecting. I'm talking myself into it. All right, fine. I'll go with you on Dallas. Jerry, you better not let me down. Jerry, you better not let me down. I've been calling you the real commissioner of the NFL as long as we've been on the air. Don't let me down on week 4. Get me a win so I can advance and plug my nose. I know it's coming. I know the letdown is coming. I've been saying the letdown is coming. It happened a little bit sooner than I thought in week 3. It can't happen in week 4 against the Patriots. The Patriots got their win. Let them be 1-3 through 4 weeks. I'm fine with that. They got to get the win on Sunday.
But unlike last week, I think we might sweat a little bit on this. Yeah,
It's
going
quite
to be
possible.
low scoring. Yeah.
All right, we're late. We got to get to Michael F. Florio. Talk some fantasy football next. Michael F. Florio of NFL Network here in the Sports Bar. Danger and Battaglia, the Fan Rochester.
Rochester Sports Update.
Tuesday off day for Buffalo Bills players. The point spread for the Buffalo Bills and Miami Dolphins now Bills by 3. Sean McDermott, Bills head coach, knows that facing the Dolphin offense, that's a step up.
They definitely attack horizontally, but they also attack vertically with the speed element, and they do a great job. Like I said before, it's revolutionary, the scheme that they use, and it seems like they've added some things since last season at this point, and they're obviously giving people a lot of problems right now.
We will talk some fantasy football next. Michael F. Florio will be joining us here in the Sports Bar. New York Jets plan to sign free agent quarterback Trevor Siemian. Rochester Nighthawks schedule is out. The home opener is against Calgary. That'll be on December 2nd. One game in Major League Baseball. The Dodgers trailing at Colorado 3-0. They're in the 5th. Gene Battaglia in the Sports Leader. The Fan, Rochester.
The beer is cold and the wings are hot. You're in the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
I think, again, you talk about a style of play and him adjusting his game or pieces of his game to a more sustainable style of play. And so I think that's healthy for him and healthy for our team.
It's Bills head coach Sean McDermott. We saw something our eyes haven't seen in a while. Josh Allen sliding on Sunday after a run game. We're going to talk some fantasy football now with Michael F. Florio, NFL Network, joining us in the Sports Bar. Michael, before we talk some fantasy and dig in a little bit into this weekend's matchups and players that we want to, try to matchups we want to exploit and get into our lineup. You Survivor player at all? Because Gene and I were just discussing Week 4, and I think there's a lot of challenges being presented here in this schedule. If you had to go Survivor this week, is there a game that you have circled that you think, oh, that's the one I would take?
Oh, it's easily the Bills over the Dolphins, right?
Yes.
That's the one.
Yes.
No, that is not one that I would be touching in a Survivor pool. I do like, pulling up the schedule right here, I like the Jaguars over the Falcons in London. I think that's one that is pretty safe. The Ravens over the Browns I like as well, and the Eagles over the Commanders.
Can I get some love for Dallas? What are we thinking?
Dallas, look, I think they should be a heavy favorite for a reason, but it's hard to say you could trust them with complete confidence after what they just did a week ago.
That's fair enough. Michael F. Florio joining us here. Let's start off with Miami, and that so often we say, oh, this is historic. When it's not really historic. No, that was. Not in our lifetime have we seen a team put up 70 points. So what do you make of this? And, Michael, in one of my leagues, I had Devon Achane, who I didn't even know how to pronounce his name until this week. So where do you draw the line as far as playing Dolphins this week against the Sean McDermott defense? Because to me, yes, Miami did all these great things, but there was an element of Denver just laying down and just kind of quitting in that game.
Yeah, it was not the best effort from the Broncos and their defense. And this is an interesting matchup because through 3 weeks, the Bills have generated the most quarterback pressure and have the highest sack rate in the NFL. But Tua has only been sacked once so far this season. As great as the Bills' defense has been playing, I think you start Tua easily. I think you start both of the Miami running backs. The Bills are still allowing around 6 yards per carry to running backs right now. And then, obviously, Tyreek Hill is in play. Jalen Waddle is always an option that I think if he suits up, you want to get in your lineup. To me, I want as many pieces from this game as I could get in my starting lineup this week.
Michael F. Florio, NFL Network, talking some fantasy football with us here in the Sports Bar. Based on what we saw last night, and I know Joe Burrow isn't 100% healthy, and he grits it out. He has a tough performance. He gets Jamar Chase involved. Is now a buy low opportunity for other pieces in Cincinnati, like a Joe Mixon or a guy who's been virtually invisible in T. Higgins?
Yeah, I think it is because you would have to anticipate that this offense gets better as the season goes along and Joe Burrow gets healthy. I think the buy low window for Joe Mixon might be even better next week because the Tennessee Titans are one of the hardest defenses to run against in the NFL. They struggle mightily against wide receivers, so that's why this week would be the week to go for the receivers. Next week probably for Joe Mixon. Joe Burrow is certainly a buy low candidate, but to me, he is one that you trade for and you put on your bench until you kind of see him do it. I know it's a good matchup on paper this week, but until we see Joe Burrow look like Joe Burrow, I don't think you could trust him in fantasy football.
Michael F. Florio, our guest, you see his work on the NFL Network and other places. Michael, as far as I love Tuesday nights, by the way, because it's just, all right, how can I tweak my roster? How can I improve? What can I go pick up? And tell me, do you think the Houston Texans offense here is real? Because Stroud at quarterback, if you're looking for a streaming option, or what about Tank Dell as far as a waiver wire pickup? Or is it still kind of too soon to tell here because the Houston Texans do get a tougher defense this week in Pittsburgh? What about Houston as a source for fantasy waiver wire pickups here?
I love it. Tank Dell to me is the number 2 waiver wire claim of the week unless A-Chain is available. He's number 1 for me, but Tank Dell is someone that I was hyping up a bit in the summer, and I think people underestimate him because of his size, but he led college football in receiving touchdowns last year, specifically had 5 more red zone touchdowns than any other player in college football. C.J. Stroud looks the part. He looks like a breakout quarterback in the making, and he's doing this with 4 of his 5 starting offensive linemen sidelined. I will say, as much as I like picking those guys up this week, I'm playing it safe with C.J. Stroud unless you just don't have a better option because he does struggle under pressure a bit, and the Pittsburgh Steelers bring plenty of that. So I'm viewing this week as kind of the final test for C.J. Stroud. If he goes out and plays well against the Steelers, I think you got yourself a starter that you could kind of just roll out the rest of the way.
Michael, if you're a Mike Williams owner and you know he's gone for the rest of the season, this waiver wire round, is it as simple as picking up Joshua Palmer and assuming that he's going to get that volume? Or do you go off the board and look for somebody that's probably available in almost every league because he's kind of lower on the depth chart, but he's been a big play machine for a team that just had 70 points scored on them? What are your thoughts on Marvin Mims of the Broncos?
So I think that I would put the Chargers receivers ahead of Marvin Mims. And I think Josh Palmer is safer and one that you could plug into your starting lineup right away. But I like Quentin Johnson even more, and I think he is the long-term upside play. I've loved him since the NFL draft. I think that people mistype him and say that he is like a Mike Williams 2.0. He's not. He has some of the same skill sets as Mike Williams, but he is amazing with the ball in his hands after the catch. Marvin Mims needs to be picked up this week. And Sean Payton, if you were listening, please give Marvin Mims some run. He is like 6th on the Broncos in routes and targets this season, yet he leads them in receiving yards. He's a big play machine, and I especially like him this week and his matchup. He is a big sleeper for me, and I actually have one team where I lost Mike Williams. My best option to plug in this week is Marvin Mims.
We're talking with Michael F. Florio, setting you up for your waiver wire here tonight, and a team that I didn't think would be 2-1, but here we are. It's Indianapolis and Gardner Minshew. Now, I don't know who's going to be a quarterback this week, so I guess that's part of the equation here. But we're certainly familiar here in Western New York with Zach Moss, and he was running all over the Ravens last week. Josh Downs, maybe wide receiver 2 there with the Colts. What's your comfort level with Indianapolis as far as waiver wire pickups for tonight here, knowing they get the Rams here on a short week?
Zach Moss should not be available, but if he is in your leagues, he is a must pickup. He played every snap but one 2 weeks ago, over 76% of them last week, scored over 20 fantasy points in each of those games as well. So I think that he is definitely a player that you should be looking to pick up off the waiver wire. As for Josh Downs, I know the volume went his way this past week. That was with Gardner Minshew. I like Josh Downs as a player. He was already seeing around 6 targets per game the first 2 weeks with Anthony Richardson, but he's someone that you could pick up. Just no way can you start him yet. We need to see the chemistry there with Anthony Richardson. If it turns out that Gardner Minshew starts again this week, then maybe he's in play as a deeper sleeper.
Michael, we get the Week 4 underway on Thursday night. Green Bay hosting Detroit. Green Bay is interesting because they haven't been healthy, yet they're a 2-1 team. Do you think this week we get Christian Watson for the first time? Do you think we get Aaron Jones returning from the first time since Week 1?
It seems like they are very optimistic about Aaron Jones playing. I forget which one of his teammates, but one of them said, we'll get 33 back this week. And as for Christian Watson, they even seem optimistic on him. And I think this is a matchup where they both healthy. I know some people like to take a wait-and-see approach. The upside is far too high with both of them. I would get them back into your starting lineup if they suit up.
So in one league, I was really down on my options here when it came to running back. And then Thursday night, I'm like, oh, phew, Matt Breida scored a touchdown. Yes, at least it gets me something. Do I hit the button here again on Breida as I don't think Saquon's going to be back this week here. And you got this long, well, by NFL standards, from Thursday night now to Monday Night Football. Your thoughts on not only Breida, but the Giants here going against a Seattle defense that's been a little suspect so far?
Matt Breida is not a player that I'm like, yeah, you need to start. But I understand the running back landscape right now and how banged up it is. And so you might not have a better option, like you said. And it's a much better matchup than he had a week ago. The 49ers are the hardest matchup for a running back. So I do think he's in play more as an RB2 or a flex option. I had Daniel Jones as a sit against the Cowboys and the Niners. He scored less than 5 points in each of those. I had him as a start in week 2. He was the QB1. To me, the thing, he's so matchup dependent, and I don't even think it's just, is it a good defense or not? I think it's, do they generate a lot of pressure on the quarterback? And the Seahawks are around league average in that regard. So I do think this is a week you can plug Daniel Jones into your lineup. And don't panic on Darren Waller just yet. I've seen some people wanting to cut bait or trade him. He had 2 down weeks against probably 2 of the best defenses in football. In the other game, he was a top 5 fantasy tight end. This is a really good matchup for him against Seattle. I think this is a get-right spot for Darren Waller.
Michael, I love that you brought up Darren Waller because there's another tight end in the league, and we'll get to see him in London on Sunday morning. What are you saying here as we enter Week 4 to the Kyle Pitts owner?
I'm sorry. Outside of Darren Waller, Kyle Pitts was a tight end that I was very bullish on this summer. And I thought the Falcons will have to throw the ball more than they did last year. Desmond Ridder can't be as bad as Marcus Mariota. And Arthur Smith will realize, hey, maybe we should throw our ball to a tight end that we took the 4th pick overall a couple years ago. And I was wrong on all 3 accounts. They're still trying to run the ball more than anyone. Arthur Smith has not learned. In fact, Arthur Smith is trying to make Jonnu Smith a thing over Kyle Pitts. And Desmond Ridder has been bad. I'm now at the point where I think you sit Kyle Pitts this week. I know he scored his touchdown 2 years ago in London. Maybe he could find some magic over the pond. But I'm kind of calling for Taylor Heineke right now. If Desmond Ridder can't make Drake London and Kyle Pitts fantasy relevant, Marcus Mariota can't, let's just keep going down the quarterbacks until we find one that can.
Yeah, we're talking to Michael F. Florio as one game that is in the early window here. That's the Bucs and Saints. Question on the Saints here because a lot of us, myself included, like, oh, I get Alvin Kamara back this week. Great. What should our expectation be, knowing that he's had a few weeks off here, Michael?
Yeah, I don't know if we'll see the normal workload for Alvin Kamara. That being said, I drafted him in a bunch of leagues in the middle rounds and have been patiently waiting, and I'm starting him where I have him. I know the Bucs run defense can be good, but we saw last night DeAndre Swift went for 130 yards against them. The Eagles had over 200 rushing yards. I'm anticipating with Jamal Williams sidelined and the mediocre play they've gotten from their other running backs, while I'm not telling you to bank on a normal Kamara workload, I also would not be surprised if he went out there and had 20-something touches, and we know what he can do with that sort of volume.
He is Michael F. Florio, Fantasy Football, NFL Network. Did we forget any other waiver wire additions that we should be looking at and examining closely here as we hit the deadline for tomorrow?
Yeah, if Sam Laporta is still available in any league, he needs to be picked up. Russell Wilson has been playing well. And I think what you want to do is go out and add the backup running backs on teams with really good rushing attacks. Like Rico Dow in Dallas. You got Elijah Mitchell in San Francisco. Zach Charbonnet in Seattle. There's a whole bunch of Jaylen Warren in Pittsburgh. A whole lot of backs that we know are quality backups, and then if anything happens to the starter, instead of being like, I got to spend all my fab or I need to use my top waiver wire priority to get him, they're already tucked away on your bench, and you got the number one waiver claim and an RB2 with RB1 upside in most of those cases.
Hey, quickly in Dallas, because I think a lot of us, myself included, we remember what he was like last season in college. What's your take on what they have behind Dowell there in Dallas in terms of in the backfield there behind, behind Dowell? Behind Pollard and Dowell, yeah.
Yeah, I think right now Dowell has looked like a very competent NFL running back. Look, he's never going to be Tony Pollard if anything happens. Tony Pollard is one of 3 good backfields right now that you can rely on each and every week in fantasy football. He is a top 2 fantasy running back. I'm not telling you he could do that, but he looked very capable in the limited touches he got. And I just believe in that offensive line and that offensive system that if anything was to happen to Pollard, Dowell can come in, step in, and be an RB2 for fantasy football. And
Deuce Vaughn was the name specifically that I was scratching for there, and I apologize, Michael. Yeah, I was thinking of Deuce Vaughn, who is coming in as a rookie, and I think turned a lot of heads in the preseason, yet he's third on that depth chart. Any value to stashing a guy like that if you expect something might happen down the stretch here to Pollard or he needs a breath?
I think with Deuce Vaughn, he's more of we would need to see the injury happen first because I don't think he is usable unless an injury was to occur. And even if one did, I think he would be splitting reps with Dowell there. And I think Dowell actually would be the lead runner. But Deuce Vaughn, man, he is explosive. He can catch the ball in the backfield. I don't care that he's my size. Watch this guy play football, and he is very impressive.
All right, Michael, I know you follow the Buffalo Bills. You just give us a thought, like real football, this matchup that everybody already talking about. As soon as Washington ended, they're like, okay, the Dolphins, bring these guys on. We see they put up 70. How do you think that plays out Sunday?
I think this is going to be a high-scoring affair. Every matchup, especially the last 2 in Buffalo last season, where both teams were getting at least 27, 28 points, I believe it was. I think, look, the Bills' defense is the hardest test for Miami, but Miami's offense is the hardest test for Buffalo so far this season. I think Josh Allen steps up, has a big game. Stephon Diggs is going to make his presence felt. I have a sneaky feeling that this is going to be the game that we see Dalton Kincaid used more, especially just going up and down the field so much, and they really haven't cut him loose just yet. I think it'll be a hard-fought game, a close game. I think a lot of people in Buffalo will be on the edge of their seats, but big play Josh comes late in the game, and he makes a game-winning play.
Michael, that's music to every Bills fan's ears. Let us know where we can get more of your work here, more of your fantasy football advice throughout the course of the week here as we set our lineups.
Yeah, Twitter is the best place to follow me, at Michael F. Florio. Same thing on Instagram. You can catch me on Fantasy Live on the NFL Network, the NFL Fantasy Podcast, and I also have my own podcast, Florio's Football Show. It's out now, where every Tuesday I go over waivers, start, sit, streamers, everything before your waiver wires even run. So make sure to go and check that out, Florio's Football Show, wherever you get your podcast.
All right, I'm planting the seed now for 11 months from now. We got to get you up to Rochester next year for Bills camp, Michael.
I plan on it. I wanted to this year, but there was only one home game in the preseason, and I had a prior commitment, but I will be there next August.
Appreciate that, Michael. We'll be looking for you and appreciate all the work you're doing to keep us on the winning track. Thanks for the time.
Thank you for having me. Anytime.
Michael F. Florio, NFL Network, joining us with some fantasy football advice as you make your waiver claims today.
Yeah, you brought up Kyle Pitts. I'm like, oh.
Gross. It's just when you talk about fantasy football, that's a name that will just be a bummer. It's just a bummer.
It's like that's the name that fits.
The thing is, man, is like everybody couldn't have been wrong about him. It's just how they're using him. They're just not using him in the way that you thought you would want to use him when you take him 4th overall.
You could have had Tagovailoa. You could have had Herbert. You the Falcons, went with Kyle, who, coming out of Florida. He looked unbelievable.
I mean, I don't want to put words in your mouth as we play Who's Hot and Who's Cold in fantasy football, brought to you by Air Quip Heating and Air Conditioning, but I mean, is there anybody colder at the tight end position than Pitts? If you drafted him, if you invested in him, I mean, the Falcons invested in him, and they're just not using him. He's not living up to that investment. If you invested him in fantasy football, you're not pleased with the return at this point.
No, and for that matter, too, a lot of people spent a second or third round pick on Drake London. It hasn't been there either. So for Atlanta and Jacksonville over in London, I hope you have better plays this week. Who's hot? Obviously, the team that's hot is based in Southern Florida, and you just heard Michael F. Florio talk about that. Feel comfortable playing both Dolphin running backs this week as we learn the pronunciation for Devon Achane. 53 points in fantasy last week. God. And the fact that the Bills, the Bills will give up some yards on the ground. That's for sure. So feel free to play both Dolphin running backs against Buffalo this week.
It's fun and challenging to know when to start a player that's heating up or bench one that's cooling off. It is not fun to be too hot or too cold in your home or business. Make the best lineup call you can and call AirQuip today.
We've got stories from around the NFL here, Danger.
We've got some appetizers to get to here. We've got happy hour on the way. We've got a round of shots, and you can join us anytime simply by dialing 585-866-4FAN, 866-4326, as happy hour is on the way next in the Sports Bar. Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester.
Discover credit card.
HD2 and W239BF Rochester. The sports leader. 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester.
Always live on the free Odyssey app.
The Fan Rochester Sports Update.
Point spread moving just a little bit for the Bills and Dolphins. It's now Buffalo favored by 3. This time yesterday it was Buffalo by 2.5. Sean McDermott, head coach, wants his team focusing on what's important.
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be a lot of things we have to stress. We'll start with fundamentals. We need to get better with some of our fundamentals. I think that's got to be a point of emphasis.
New York Jets, meanwhile, plan to sign free agent quarterback Trevor Siemian. Jets on Sunday Night Football this week against Kansas City. The Rochester Nighthawks, their schedule is out. The home opener this year will be on December 2nd against Calgary. Just one game in the majors right now. The LA Dodgers trailing Colorado 3-1. They're in the 6th. Yankees playing out the string. They're on the road tonight in Toronto. Gene Battaglia, the sports leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950. The Fan, Rochester.
The Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia.
Bills, Dolphins, 1 o'clock. Wow. Sunday.
Mike Danger.
Just paint a picture. How insane is Orchard Park going to be Sunday with everything that's on the line for this game and the way this team is playing right at this moment?
Oh, man. This Sunday is going to be fireworks.
Gene Battaglia.
I think this is going to be a lot of fun for a lot of old-timers like yourself and me that remember what Bills Dolphins used to mean way back in the day. And, I don't know, is this becoming a rivalry, Danger?
It's absolutely a rivalry.
Biggest regular season Bills-Dolphins game since...
maybe ever.
Indeed.
Bills fans are going to be ready for this. Oh, my gosh. When does the tailgating start here?
The Monday night doubleheader, that was kind of aight.
Eagles are now 3-0 for the second consecutive season.
I think Cincinnati's done.
Coffin nails! Bam!
Travis Kelce, Taylor Swift, power couple in the NFL.
Travis Kelce's had a lot of big catches in his career. This would be the biggest.
I want to kiss you.
Final week of the MLB regular season.
It is the preseason home opener here at KeyBank Center tonight. Go Sabres!
95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
It's happy hour, unless you're a miserable Chicago Bears fan like I am, when you have to hear it from guys like Chris, one of our regulars, listening on the Odyssey app in South Central Kentucky. At the Fan Rochester, this just in, Broncos at Bears is being moved to Friday with all the other high school games. Hi-oh! This is a low point.
No, the low point is that we're doing Spencer Port Wilson and not Bears and Broncos on Friday Night Rivals, buddy.
Yeah.
Who would watch that game?
Bears Broncos?
Yeah. Are you disciplined enough to say I can do something else? It's a beautiful fall afternoon.
I'm disciplined enough to say rather than sit around.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to go to the Bills game, and I'm going to bring my daughter, who has been asking to go to a Bills game. She's 19. She's never been. And I'm like, yeah, if you want to go, we'll go. We got the hookup. We're going. We're going to tailgate. We're going to do the whole thing. She's going to experience her first Bills game for a game that means a lot early in the season against a rival in Miami. It's gonna be awesome. I can't wait.
That is something, because you remember your first Bears game. I remember my first Bills game. It was Marino and Kelly. 9-6 Buffalo won.
Real exciting game, right?
But it didn't matter. You were there, and you got to kind of take in all these new things. And look, I'm with my dad and my brother and my uncle. It's a little different where she's still your daughter.
Yeah.
And you're still going to a tailgate, and you're still going to maybe see something you don't want to see.
Yeah, look, I'm sure that we'll just by chance happen to pass by some debauchery or something that she's not used to seeing. Her eyes are not used to seeing. It's fine. It'll be part of the experience. It'll be part of the story. I'm looking forward to it. And I know it'll be different than your first Bills game, my first Bears game. I mean, hell, I remember going to Soldier Field. Hope you're sitting down. This is all I have now. It's 1985. It wasn't Jim McMahon. It was Steve Fuller.
Bull.
It was Steve Fuller and both Matt Suhey and Walter Payton rushing for 100 yards against the pitiful Detroit Lions. And I remember my old man and my grandfather having a chuckle because every fan, all the fans around us were chanting Cripple Hipple. Eric Hipple, the quarterback of the Detroit Lions that day. And the Bears defense, of course, vaunted, and they had their way. We thought they were going to kill him. We really were worried for his life.
What would rhyme with Tua, I guess?
Pua.
Yeah.
No,
that doesn't work.
No. It'll be even if it's a polite heckle. I think those are the most. Tua, you're a disgrace, and I don't like you. You know, it's the Angel Hernandez dunk. Angel Hernandez, you stink, and I don't like you.
Angel Hernandez, you stink, and I don't like you.
The difference there being that Angel Hernandez is actually bad. Yeah. Tua has come around there. This is the threat. When Sean McDermott gives you that quote, revolutionary.
Yeah, this is Sean McDermott talking about the Miami Dolphins offense.
They have unreal team speed on the offensive side. That's really where my focus has been the last hour or two. And it seems like they added to it this offseason, right? So very good skill. Tua is throwing the ball extremely well, and they just their schematics are almost revolutionary in what they do. I mean, it's Coach McDaniel's very creative and does a lot of things to get you out of position on defense.
We'll talk more about this game here coming up. It's Happy Hour in the Sports Bar. We appreciate you checking us out here on the Sports Leader at 95.7 FM, AM 950. You can hear us where we sound our best, the free-to-download Odyssey app. Just search out the Sports Bar or the Fan Rochester. Ask your smart device to play 95.7 The Fan. And you can watch the Sports Bar as well. Our video stream is up at the Fan Rochester on YouTube and on Twitch. Last night we had a doubleheader on Monday Night Football. Neither game was all that compelling.
No.
But in the outcome, I think the outcome of the Cincinnati-LA game is noteworthy because, once again, Cincinnati, after starting the season 0-2, defensively really showed up and stifled the Rams. But Joe Burrow isn't right. He's not 100%. It's clear he's not able to do a lot of the things that you're used to seeing him do. Yet they're doing enough to get wins, and that toughness, that will to get out there, even though everybody knows you're not 100%, that goes a long way to galvanizing a team. They're going to play for that guy.
Yes, but that's where I would say smart organization would be like, okay, what are we trying to do here at the end? And would he be better off? The team be better off if you just gave him, I don't know, 2, 3, 4 weeks, whatever you need to heal up. You can still get into the postseason. And once you're in, this is a team danger that won in Buffalo. They won in Tennessee. They won in Kansas City. So they've won on the road in the postseason before. I would sacrifice the division, make sure the quarterback is right, because I don't know if that's going to heal up. He can't drive the ball downfield. That does not look like Joe Burrow. I give him credit, and the team pulled it off last night. Maybe it's, wait a second. You cannot lose when you're wearing those threads, too.
That's it. Wear those unis always. Just make them your permanent. I don't care if you're on the road. I don't care if you're at home. Those are the neatest, freshest, crispest unis going, save for maybe a throwback. That's alternate jerseys done right, alternate uniforms done right. And I'm saying that early in the season. My eyes liked what I saw last night, but we haven't seen Bucko Bruce yet. We haven't seen the Eagles in their Kelly greens yet. We did see the Falcons wear the red helmets. That was spectacular last week. But the zebra print, kind of a weak sauce whiteout in Cincinnati. A nice attempt, but not fully there. They'll probably continue to work on that. And if they know that they're going to wear those whites at home, that's a good look for Cincinnati.
And Philadelphia rolling Tampa Bay. Like, wait, is it the Buccaneers are 2-0? No, they weren't really legit. So.
DeAndre Swift is interesting when you consider that they really didn't have to give up much to get him, and they don't have to pay much to get the production that they're getting out of him. Howie Roseman always gets praise, and I think it's deserved. I think, whether you're talking about the A.J. Brown deal last year or now the DeAndre Swift deal this year, another 100-yard rushing game. I mean, it's just a big game for DeAndre Swift.
Danger. Like, at some point, Rashad Penny will have a big game. Boston Scott is still there. There was one play last night. I'm like, oh, this kind of explains it. imagine the biggest hole right up the middle of the field where, honestly, I could have run for 5 yards.
Yeah, that offensive line is good, and the defensive line is great as well. Carter. Oh, Jalen Carter is nice.
How did he last in number 10?
The off-field stuff, right?
I guess, yeah.
Jalen Carter is going to be a really, really good player in this league for a very long time. The Eagles are stacked. They looked really good in dismantling another undefeated team in Tampa Bay who looked like they could compete for a title in the South, but if they do make it to the postseason, that team doesn't look like a team poised for a deep playoff run. So that was your Monday night doubleheader last night with the Bengals getting over the Rams, the Eagles taking care of the Bucs. You mentioned in your sports update, the Jets are signing a quarterback.
Trevor Siemian.
Oh, not a big name quarterback, not an actual starter.
God. Do you realize that's Sunday Night Football this week? No, this is now the punishment for not having Aaron Rodgers, that you can't flex out this soon. Imagine if they did have flex scheduling. What? No, who am I kidding? Of course they want Taylor Swift conversation on Sunday Night Football.
That's
All of a sudden, this new
I can't
audience.
wait for Chris Collinsworth to get creepy on Taylor Swift. When they zoom in on her.
Are the Chiefs on Thursday Night Football? Is Al going to be like, wow, there's...
And then Kirk Herbstreit's like, I've been through this before, Al. We don't need to go down this road again. Please, spare yourself.
Wow.
She's a good-looking woman. Boy, let me tell you. You had to sign Trevor Siemian. Yeah, who was behind Zach Wilson? Tim Boyle. Tim Boyle? You got to sign somebody with a little bit more experience, even somebody as putrid as Trevor Siemian, who wasn't able to even make the Bengals' final roster. Signed by the Jets today. And I know we spoke at length about some fantasy football with Michael F. Florio, and you brought up Matt Breida. I know Brian Daboll did the same thing last week, but I'm willing to fall for it again this week.
Oh, is he saying, wait a second, we might
Saquon is day-to-day. He's calling Saquon day-to-day because he's such a quick healer. Quite the layoff there, and Saquon admitting it's a high ankle sprain, which generally takes somewhere in the neighborhood of 4 weeks to recover from fully. Saquon Barkley, after missing last week, hearing from his coach today that he might be day-to-day, and he's feeling a lot better today. So that's what you have to look forward to if you have Saquon Barkley on your bench, or if you're in a guillotine league and Saquon Barkley might actually be a free agent.
That's always the tough one, though. Like when you have is he playing or not? Oh, it's the Monday night game.
Yeah.
So you better get Breida just in case if you're going to go in that direction. Oh, come on. Let's talk more Bills-Dolphins, buddy. I've been waiting for this all. I actually got invited on PJ's show, so it was on BetQL today.
Yeah, PJ Glasser, who joins us every Wednesday, invited Gene on to send it in, his show on the BetQL network.
And he hit me with a good question. It was this. Hey, right now, who's the favorite in the AFC? It's not the Buffalo Bills. You get plus money with the Buffalo Bills. So PJ just asked me, and I'm like, well, PJ, if I can take plus money on the Buffalo Bills to win the division, I'm going to do that. But let me caution you, and I'm actually quoting Mike Danger. I quoted you, I sourced you, Mike Danger, the fact that whatever happens this week, we are only in week 4. And you said way back when, look at week 18.
Preseason. It was one of my bold predictions that the Bills would claw their way to 10 or 11 wins this season, but that week 18 game would be for the East, would be for the AFC East, and it might be the game that advances one team to the postseason with the AFC East crown and another team out of the playoffs.
But right now, it looks like that could be the game that just decides the division, and whether the other team gets in as a wild card, I don't know. We have to kind of keep this in mind, because what will Monday look like if the Bills lose this game?
Well, like anything, as if they do, how do they do it, right? Like we have plenty to be upset about after week 1 because it was Josh Allen being a bonehead. It was Josh Allen not protecting the football and trying to be a hero, and it really fed up. It had a lot of Bills fans fed up. We've seen good Josh for the last 2 weeks. Very conservative Josh, taking what the defense gives you, Josh. And that served him and this offense well. If you see more of it on Sunday and the Bills lose, What is the reasoning for the loss? Is it the speed of Miami? Now we have something to talk about. Okay, well, the Bills' defense age is now a liability. They can't compete with the speed of Miami's offense, which somehow looks faster this year than it did last year. Is that fair? Do my eyes deceive me? They look faster this year, even though it's a lot of the same guys. They look faster this year than they did last year.
Well, when McDermott gives that quote about revolutionary, there was one formation. It's a running play, and they call it this orbit, where the one guy goes in motion, and it's a big looping motion, but it's almost like you're getting a Canadian Football League running start to the line of scrimmage, and it's kind of allowed. And my gosh, that's the last thing you need, that team getting kind of a running start there. When I talk to PJ, like, what is the difference about this? This is from the outside perspective. I'm like, look, don't confuse what I'm going to say here. Terrell Bernard is not Luke Kuechly, but Sean McDermott wants a middle linebacker with those qualities in speed. And for Bernard, we talked earlier to Matt Perino, who was fantastic today, too. He's like, look, week one, he didn't even play in the preseason. That was a tough assignment. And yes, there were some missed assignments that maybe you could blame on Bernard. But once he got settled in, he's getting settled in. So to me, this is, if I'm Miami coming up here, they should be looking at this the same way. That this Buffalo Bills defense, okay, now this is the real test for us. And this is the team that we cannot get past. Sure, we beat them last year in week 3, but we lost twice up there.
Yeah, I like that Matt Perino pointed out the Bills aren't going to be scared of Miami. They're going to go into this game, whereas we might view Miami as this team that just put up 70 against another professional football team. The Bills don't care about that, and they know this team is a team that they beat 2 out of 3 times last year, including in the postseason. So offensively, you would expect they're going to be able to move the football. Defensively, can you limit those big plays and those opportunities? And I think offensively, too, can you keep that offense, the Miami offense, on the sideline? I think that benefits you. I think you want to control the clock. I think you want long, sustaining drives. I don't think you want Josh throwing it deep downfield unless you have that shot. Of course, you're saying that, and those are usually the games when we think that they're going to go, no, they are also going to have to score a lot of points. And they think they recognize that going into this game as well. It's going to be wildly entertaining. Can't wait for it. Going to be there in person. If you're going to be there in person, make us part of your pregame ritual. We have our pregame coverage starting at 9 a.m.
Oh, no. We want you to tune in at 7.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Like what other radio station is actually local on a Sunday morning other than the Fan Rochester with the Italian Carousel, giving you the latest soccer scores from Italy?
Yes. All right. I forgot. Sorry, Joe. Joe Capagreco, host of the Italian Carousel, 7 to 9 on a Bills game day before we get to pregame at 9. And then kickoff, of course, coming up just after 1 o'clock here on the Fan Rochester. Yeah, it was a great conversation with Matt Perino, and that's available for you now wherever you get your podcasts. Just search out The Sports Bar. All of our guest appearances are listed for you there. You get our show broken down hour by hour as well. You can always reach out to us on X at The Fan Rochester. You can also call us at 585-866-4FAN. 866-4326 is our phone number. We got a round of shots coming up here in a few, and we'll wrap up with closing time. I should also let you know that tomorrow, Gino mentioned PJ Glasser. He's the host of BetQL's Send It In. We'll get some winners from PJ tomorrow afternoon at 3:25. And Armando Salguero, one of our favorites. Now, he covers the NFL for Outkick, but of course knows his Miami Dolphins football as well. Armando is great, and I can't wait to get Armando's take on this year's Dolphins squad as we prepare for Bills-Dolphins on Sunday.
Now, we made our survivor pick. That was Dallas. We had San Francisco, but it's a divisional game, and we're going with Dallas, giving 7 against New England. Now, Jim is calling in from Webster.
Jim, is this a bad idea?
Well, I don't know, but just heard it on the earlier show with Tasker that Belichick grabbed the
Zeke
practice squad quarterback off of Dallas to grill them about their offense and what's going on. So good luck, guys.
Good luck. Thanks, Jim. I missed that. We're gonna like that's the oldest trick in the book, right?
He's got Zeke. Now he's got the practice squad quarterback.
Yeah.
It still might not be enough because Mac Jones is not a good football player, right? I mean,
that's for sure.
Yeah. So, God, that San Francisco, it's enticing. It is enticing. Because Arizona can't do that 2 weeks in a row and can't go on the road.
Who is more likely to fall into the trap, seeing that Dallas and San Francisco play in 2 weeks? Is it San Francisco or is it Dallas?
Oh, that's right.
Well, Dallas, I think, cannot fall into that trap, seeing they lost last week. So,
yeah,
Jim, thank you for bringing that to our attention, bud. Appreciate it. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, that's on brand for Bill Belichick. Any advantage you can get within the rules, and sometimes outside of the rules, yeah, we'll take that. I'm still stunned that we had Bill Belichick delivering a line. I mean, hitting a punch line.
Well, it is the best catch he's ever had.
Talking about Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce. Is that you, Bill Belichick? Whoa, Shecky Belichick. It has to be his long lost brother Shecky Belichick delivering that line.
The Swifties are all going to be wondering, does she show up now in New York this week?
She has to, right? Now it's going to become an expectation. She doesn't have anything going on, right? The tour is on hold until next year when she gets back on the road. And I would think she probably is being requested. Her presence is probably being requested by Roger Goodell. Hey, we would love to have you as our guest, the NFL, at MetLife Stadium. And, oh, by the way, would you be okay with us showing you on camera, I don't know, every 5 seconds in between play, every play?
Well, the fact that Kelsey's jersey sales went up 400%. What does this do for Swift's music? I'm asking honestly.
She doesn't need it. She doesn't need anything. She's fine. She doesn't need any more promotion.
So this is about love? We're just being so jaded and cynical?
Now I'm wondering, when does he put a ring on it? If they make it through the season, is this the off season that Taylor gets a wedding ring going in advance of the second leg of her tour? I don't know when she's going to Europe or I know she's coming back, but yeah, we haven't explored that option.
Travis, you could be the best villain of all time if you just found another woman or whatever it was, and just come on, turn heel, buddy.
We got our tweets coming in at the Fan Rochester. We appreciate you guys joining us. 866-4FAN, 866-4326. You can join us there as well. Mike tweeting us, almost revolutionary is a McLie. He wants McDaniel to believe his own press release. Let's go back and listen to this through the McDermott McLies filter.
They have unreal team speed on the offensive side. That's really where my focus has been the last hour or two. And it seems like they added to it this offseason, right? So very good skill. Tua is throwing the ball extremely well. And they just their schematics are almost revolutionary in what they do. I mean, it's Coach McDaniel's very creative and does a lot of things to get you out of position on defense.
That's got to kill McDermott just to give Coach McDaniel is very creative. Just like he is lying through his teeth. Like, I'll show you with my defense, buddy.
Yeah. Look, that's I think it's impressive. I think what McDaniel has done so far this year is impressive. I think it's a byproduct of being a part of that Shanahan coaching tree where you recognize the strengths and the weaknesses of the players that you have and you play to them. You don't try to force something that isn't there. You just play to the strengths, and you know that Tua can't read more than one read. You know that Tua's not going to throw it downfield with all that amount of success. So you work in things like the no-look shovel pass into your game plan, and it works because nobody has seen it before. And you confuse defenses with all the motion and everything else. But it is the NFL, and teams get film, and teams catch up. And everything that's revolutionary about what he's doing right now won't be revolutionary later this season and certainly next season and beyond. It was the same Miami Dolphins team that introduced the Wildcat not so long ago. Remember that? The Wildcat
revolutionary
just took over the NFL. The Wildcat, no, not really a thing anymore. Teams get wise to your plan.
Well, I'm going to say this, and it's going to piss some Bills fans off. My concern about this are the two guys on the back end, Poyer and Hyde. Honestly, like if you bring them up, do they get beat over the top? If they're in the back, does Tua pick apart? Are they just are these Dolphins receivers running back at all? Or are they just going to run past these two guys? I'm going to be fascinated how McDermott plays those two guys this week.
Yeah, and maybe the push up front is a good start, and that defensive line, as we discussed with Matt Perino earlier, has been fantastic. Ed Oliver is finally playing up to the potential that we believed he would be at when they drafted him as a top 10 pick, and I like the idea of Groot in the center. I like the idea of Greg Rousseau playing a little defensive tackle. Maybe that push up front and that size in the middle encourages Tua to, roll out, leave himself a little bit more vulnerable to mistakes.
Or just bat the pass down.
Or bat it down.
Bat it down.
Yeah, which we've seen the Bills do with frequency so far this year. Going to be great. And again, you'll be able to hear the action starting at 9 a.m. with pregame here Sunday morning on the Fan Rochester.
One quick Bills note.
Yeah.
Mike Williams, remember he passed the... his death is under investigation by police now. He was in the hospital paralyzed, but it might not have been the construction accident that he passed from. Unprescribed narcotics by an outside party is the investigation.
While he was in the hospital?
Correct.
Oh. Who's visiting him in the hospital that could somehow get him unprescribed narcotics? Family members?
And your guess is as good as mine, but that's why I was like, police investigation. Mike Williams, what's this about? So.
Huh. All right. We thought that story was over. Then it wasn't over. Then it was over. And now it's not over again.
Sad.
It's going to make for a hell of a Netflix documentary. It is sad. Let's get to a round of shots next.
Yeah, we do have hockey tonight. If you want to just kind of kick back, although if you're tuning in tonight, just we'll tell you what's different about this broadcast tonight. I wish they weren't doing this, but whatever. Here, a little NBA action. We also have some news on the Nighthawks today. One of our favorites, also danger. Hard procedure. Oh no. We'll give you the update.
Okay. That's coming up next. It's a round of shots as happy hour continues in the sports bar. Danger and Battaglia on the Fan Rochester.
Odyssey has sports for every fan.
Tuesday, the off day for Bills players. The point spread moved just a little bit today. Yesterday it was Buffalo by 2.5. It's now Bills by 3 over the Dolphins. Head coach Sean McDermott knows that facing the Miami offense, that's a step up in weight class.
They definitely attack horizontally, but they also attack vertically with the speed element, and they do a great job. Like I said before, it's revolutionary, the scheme that they use, and it seems like they've added some things since last season at this point, and they're obviously giving people a lot of problems right now.
The New York Jets, meanwhile, plan to sign free agent quarterback Trevor Siemian. One game in the majors, the LA Dodgers trailing in Colorado 4-1 as they go to the 8th. The Yankees tonight, they're playing out the string. They're in Toronto. Sports is brought to you by GetMyPerks.com. Save half off to Manja in Spencerport. For this and other great deals, log on to GetMyPerks.com. Gene Battaglia, the Fan, Rochester.
They've raised the bar on Rochester Sports Talk. You're in the Sports Bar with Danger and Battaglia on the Sports Leader, 95.7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
I don't think anybody's figured that out yet, clearly. So I'm just getting into it, but yeah, we'll have to see. I don't even know where to begin yet. So, but I appreciate the question.
Buffalo Bills head coach Sean McDermott on what his approach will be defending this Miami Dolphins offense.
Oh, let me just sit down. I'm going to tell you the whole game.
Yeah, tomorrow we'll hear from Coach. Tomorrow they get back to work, and the work week begins for the Buffalo Bills as they prepare for Miami coming up here on Sunday afternoon. And we'll probably have a good dose of McDermott McLies to share as well.
I don't think there's any real McLies. It's just exaggerations. Like what the Dolphins are doing, okay, yeah, it's good, but is it revolutionary? It's a little bit of a stretch. You're going to have stretches tomorrow.
Okay. Well, you got to stretch out. I don't know, you don't want to pull a hammy or anything like that when you're giving your press conference. So just stretch the truth a little bit.
Okay, so stretches are lies when it comes to McDermott McLies, which we'll have tomorrow.
Very good.
We do have hockey tonight at KeyBank Arena. It's the first game actually there, preseason. The Sabres hosting the Bruins. And, yeah, you're going to see all the familiar names pretty much. Tage Thompson, Rasmus Dahlin, Devin Levi all make their preseason debuts. Also in the lineup, Skinner, Tuch, Middlestat. The game is on MSG. However, be advised, that's not the MSG broadcast. They're simply picking up the feed from Nesson, so hopefully it's not Jack Edwards tonight.
It would be Jack Edwards then, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
I'm wondering why Jack Edwards he can't be coming to Buffalo for a preseason game to call the game. How is that working out? Why would Nesson?
You would think it would be the other way around.
Right.
So tonight...
I get cutting costs, and I get, the expense of doing preseason games that not a lot of people are going to watch or pay attention to, but why would you, if you're a Nesson... I imagine if Nesson is handling the broadcast, then it's probably Jack Edwards in a studio somewhere watching the feed instead of being in Buffalo.
I'm hoping he doesn't insult the Buffalo fan base tonight.
What was this thing? He called him a dumpster fire all those years ago?
Yeah. It's the beginning. By the way, you miss it tonight, you'll get more opportunities. 4 games in 5 nights in the preseason for Buffalo beginning tonight.
Okay.
Dame time, Damian Lillard, we know he's going to be traded, right, from Portland. The question is, where? He says he only wants to go to Miami. The Heat are offering 2 first-rounders and guard Tyler Hero. Not great. Mark Spears, ESPN, reporting that it's actually Toronto is the front runner. Their package includes Pascal Siakam, who he was a key component to that championship team, and Grady Dick. The report says that he is expected Lillard will be moved prior to the Blazers camp, which, by the way, starts next Monday. NBA training camp's beginning to open.
Okay. So a little movement there in the NBA to be expected before camps open up. We've been hearing this for such a long time now. I'm at the point where it's like, all right, I'll believe it when I see it.
Well, yeah. And to me, the NBA, that's also like, when does this start? Oh, yeah, next month.
And not only that, like, what other league where you have the player saying, I'm only going to Miami? And it might actually be that he only plays next season for Miami. Like, the players are running it.
This is Adam Silver's NBA. Plain and simple. Rochester Nighthawks, their schedule came out today. Team opening up a week earlier at home. That's going to be Saturday, December 2nd against Calgary. Just like last year, there are 9 home games.
9 times.
And 9 away games.
9 times.
Good year for the Nighthawks, considering, all right, it's kind of a newish franchise. They got to the postseason last year, losing eventually to the eventual champ, Buffalo, in the first round.
Yeah. Well, that's still a weird thing that both Buffalo and Rochester are owned by the Pagulas, and you have one winning a championship and the other one getting beaten in the postseason by the team that eventually won the championship?
It doesn't bother me until the stupid orange and black fan base comes in, the Bandit fan base. And credit the Nighthawk fan base, because I went to that game last year, and it wasn't completely overtaken, but there's a lot of Bandit fans out there.
They're like their Buffalo Bandits lacrosse. Well, they got a championship team.
Yeah. Let this story be a lesson for all of us. LSU head coach Kim Mulkey, one of our favorites. She had numbness in one of her fingers, and this was back in June. So what did she do? Well, she went to the doctor. The doctors pieced it together. She had 2 stents put in. A coronary artery had a 95 to 99% blockage. Had Mulkey not reported that symptoms, who knows what story we'd be talking about. She said she didn't even know she had any heart issues. She felt fine otherwise, and she feels fine right now.
Yeah, she's one of our favorites. She actually makes me want to be an LSU women's basketball fan.
You have to have some level of 2, 3, 4, and 5 years of consistency to say the program is back. You hear it all the time. I see it in football, college football. You'll see these kids go win an exciting bowl game and they'll go, "We're back." And then the next year they get their butts kicked. You're not back until you do it at a high level for a period of time.
Yeah, I'll run through a wall for that woman.
Brian Kelly, you paying attention? Or are you taking notes?
That's how it's done. That's how it's done. And it's funny. We were laughing earlier about how Jalen Hurts and some of his Eagles teammates were playing last night on Monday Night Football with flu-like symptoms.
I thought that was like if you're supposed to report it, right? You're not supposed to be out there.
No, we're back now. And Kim Mulkey, dating back to March of 2021, Kim Mulkey, revolutionary in her own way.
They need to dump the COVID testing. Wouldn't it be a shame to keep COVID testing and then you got kids that end up having test positive or something and they don't get to play in the Final Four? So you need to just forget the COVID test and let the 4 teams that are playing in each Final Four go battle it out.
Amazing restraint there by head coach Kim Mulkey.
That's the key when you're interviewing somebody. Just get them so comfortable that they get too comfortable.
Yeah.
And they realize, like Kevin Roach knows that trick.
Can't say that. Yeah, he does.
He does. You just make somebody so comfortable they forget they're on live television.
That's good.
Yeah. If you know, you know. Finally, this has been an embarrassing season for the Chicago White Sox. On the field, certainly. But in the stands, it was bad, too. There was a shooting. Not good. But the Sox are trying to make things right here. For this Thursday's game against Arizona, they are offering $1 tickets and free parking, which is great, but it asks the question, Danger, what happens when nobody takes advantage of this offer?
Are they offering this up as a way to help the Cubs? Because if the Sox beat Arizona, it only helps the Cubs' chances here down the stretch. Because the Cubs...
did they even realize? Why would they do that?
That's right. Yeah. That's what I'm wondering. And okay.
So Cub fans will come out and...
I don't know. But the Cubs have this is it. Like, you got Atlanta. Like, this is going to be tough. It ain't guaranteed. And... meanwhile, Arizona's there, and you've got Arizona in Chicago, but with the White Sox. Is this some sort of peace offering between the White Sox and the Cubs?
We had that report, and it was by a business journal, so it wasn't like somebody on the internet said, "Hey, Reinsdorf, he'd be open to looking at Nashville, other places." And no, wrong. Okay. That stadium is inferior to Wrigley. The location, everything about it.
Yeah, but they've always coexisted, and I don't think they're going anywhere.
You can't leave the number 3 market.
That's right.
I'm sorry.
And Reinsdorf,
terrible.
He's terrible, but he's making money. He's a smart businessman. So, that doesn't make any sense other than them actually saying, "Hey, we want to do something nice for the fans. Here's $1 to get in and park and do the whole thing." But you're right. At this point, who's showing up? The team is just atrocious.
Speaking of actually, that's kind of a cruel segue. Goaltenders that have never been any good. Corey Schneider announcing his retirement today.
Oh, boy. Yeah, but a lot of hype, right?
Yeah.
Like the heir apparent, remind me, heir apparent to Brodeur, right?
Right. Devils, Islanders, Vancouver.
Yeah.
And saw him a bunch of times
It's
playing the Amerks,
almost
so.
impossible to follow up a legend. Almost. You see it in the NFL. Andrew Luck following up Peyton Manning.
Young following up Montana.
Right. Favre, Rodgers. Hard to do in a lot of other instances. Hard to be the next guy up after Martin Brodeur or Patrick Waugh in the NHL. Hard. It's a hard gig, man, because the fans have an expectation, and you aren't going to be that. You aren't going to be close to that. So that's a tough spot for, the long career, and I'm sure he's done just fine for himself, but the expectation was probably unrealistic from the get-go for that one. All right, we're going to get the last call next in the sports bar. And you can join us by calling 585-866-4FAN, 866-4326 to pull up a stool as we utter the scariest words in all of sports talk radio. Let's go to the phones.
Back to the phones we go.
We'll get to that next with last call as we close up shop here in the sports bar. Get ready to start the NFL week off right. It's Mike Danger for FanDuel Sportsbook, the official partner of 95.7 The Fan. Right now, all customers can get a no-sweat same-game parlay for Thursday Night Football. Just place a 3-leg same-game parlay on this week's game between the Lions and Packers, and you'll get bonus bets back if you don't win. NFL same-game parlays are the perfect way to combine your bets for a chance at a bigger payday. Build your own or choose from one of the popular same-game parlays pre-built for you in FanDuel's top-rated sportsbook app. Visit FanDuel.com/Mike, M-I-K-E, so you don't miss out on your chance to get a no-sweat same-game parlay on America's #1 sportsbook. FanDuel, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. 21 plus and physically present in New York. Refund issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. Max refund $5 unless otherwise specified. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. For help with a gambling problem, call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369.
Odyssey has sports for every fan. Keep up with your favorite team.
7 FM and AM 950 The Fan, Rochester.
Last call on the sports bar. You can join us at 866-4326, 585-866-4FAN. Spent a lot of time today talking Bills and Dolphins, what Sean McDermott is working on, and how revolutionary this Mike McDaniel offense appears to be.
But I think I may have something, a crack here in Miami.
Oh?
Focus is not where it should be.
Tell me.
All right, is this... okay, let's get this by the censor. Is this too blue here, Danger? Can we go with this?
I think so.
Okay. All right, so you've been forewarned, and you're going to see this story a little later, chances are. Tyreek Hill, who we know, dating back, just not a good guy, right? Tyreek Hill went on a podcast with, of all people, Mike Evans, and talking about what the plan...
Mike Evans, the Buccaneers receiver.
Correct. And talking about life after football, which that's a natural thing.
Got to have a podcast if you're going to talk about life after football.
Yeah. Tyreek Hill. When I retire, bro, I really want to be a porn star. Very serious. You think I got that? Mike Evans was speechless at this point. Whatever you want, bro.
What was the old quote that if you're thinking about retirement, you're already
retired? Yeah.
Good news is Tyreek Hill is already retired. He just retired.
What do you think Roger Goodell would think about, like, one of his players in the NFL being in a film like that?
Well, once they're out of the NFL. I mean, let's face it. Are we just counting the moments until Antonio Brown decides he needs the money?
Yeah.
He's the kind of guy that I would imagine just being crazy enough to make that career switch. Has that ever happened in the NFL? Has a former player gone on? We know that there are former players that have gone on to be movie stars, but not necessarily porn stars.
Correct. Like Stallone would probably be but that's prior to making the transition over to the big screen.
Wait, Stallone was an NFL player?
No, he was a porn star before.
Oh, Stallone was a porn... I didn't know that. Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I had no idea. Really?
Not that I'm into that, Danger, but...
I mean, I'm going through the list of like NFL players that became movie stars.
Jim Brown probably being
Jim
like the
Brown,
first, yeah.
Hightower Police Academy, Bubba Smith, right?
Alex Karras.
Hell, Al Bundy and Jay from Modern Family.
Yeah.
Why Ed O'Neill? Ed O'Neill was a former football player, right? Like there's a handful of guys that have made that jump. There's one that I can't put my finger on his name. Because he did such a good job.
Like comedic? Like comedy?
Almost slapstick. He was in the Naked Gun movies.
He did commercials, too.
With Leslie Nielsen. I remember Leslie. He wasn't a football player, but alongside Leslie Nielsen in the Naked Gun movies, he was just hilarious, slapstick. Like the scene where he's laying in bed. You know the actor I'm talking about. There's a scene where he's laying in bed, and it's a retractable bed, and it retracts on him, and he looks like he's folded in half. God, why is his name escaping me? I can't for the life of me place the former NFL player who went on to become an actor and star in those Naked Gun movies. Why am I drawing a blank? It's not like me to forget who were actually. Maybe somebody can help me out.
You know, like he was. I know who you're talking about. He was in these auto run. He's running through the airport.
Oh, the guy that was in the Hertz commercials.
Yeah,
and he would like he was a football player in the airport, right? Like you hurdle and break tackles and
stuff. Yeah,
Gene, this is not like us. We got to be better than this. I mean, we're supposed to be professionals here in the sports bar and know who we're talking about at all times.
You got it, Juice. When Chris and I broke up, the Juice was there for me every night. It's like he's not really the Juice anymore. We got to get you dressed, Juice. Juice. A will? Juice. Come on, Juice. Juice. It's AC. Juice. AC's here. Juice. I heard, Juice. It's on every channel. You know I feel the same, Juice. You're gonna tell them yourself, Juice. Juice. Your whole family's here, Juice. She's on the house phone waiting to talk to you, Juice. Juice. Okay, Juice? Okay, Juice. We're good to go. You're home, Juice. You know Uncle Juice and your Uncle Juicy. Your Uncle Juice is a good man.
Yeah.
He's never going to stop being the Juice. It could explain a lot, Juice. Just hear him out, Juice. He's right, Juice. Listen, Juice. Juice, this is your life. Juice, please, Juice. Juice, we need an answer.
I could picture everybody yelling at you, Danger. Oh, come on, hit it already.
Do not give me an excuse to play every instance of David Schwimmer as Robert Kardashian saying the word juice from The People versus O.J. Simpson, because I will take that ball just like O.J. did to the hole. Pay dirt.
Wasn't it? I don't know if O.J. did it himself, but wasn't he in some film kind of like that? After, like everything, when he's just needing money at that point.
What, like a steamy, like R-rated?
Yeah.
After Dark.
Right. I don't want to Google it because I don't want IT like flagging me and, looking that up.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. Now I'm thinking to myself, is a guy like Antonio Brown or even Tyreek Hill, who would you peg to be the guy that could be the next Juice? Who's next in line to be like the crazy guy that captivates an audience the way Juice did? Because it felt like Antonio Brown was well on his way to doing that. We haven't really heard anything from him yet this NFL season, and that's probably a good thing.
Well, other than he bought the arena team in Albany and didn't pay anybody.
Right.
Right there. That ended badly.
Yeah. No, not the smartest of businessmen. But I would say AB is one of those guys, and then potentially, based on what he's saying here, Tyreek Hill could be that guy. He's just kind of a
You
space
know what,
cadet.
Tyreek? Get a head start. You can do both right now. Like, you don't need to prepare for them. He's also the guy. Wasn't Tyreek the guy? Yeah, I don't watch film.
No, that was Johnny Manziel.
No, it was Tyreek too.
Yeah, not a good guy.
Yeah.
We can't forget Tyreek Hill's
bad guy.
Stardom in the NFL is under this veil of him being a really bad guy off the field.
Do you really want to kind of make this admission the week you're heading up to Buffalo too?
Ooh, well, we have a history. We can give him a head start. Tomorrow on the show, we'll get some winners at 3:25, and we're joined by the host of BetQL's Send It In and Odyssey Sports Betting Insider PJ Glasser. Insider calls are presented by BetMGM. Go check out all of the latest lines today on the BetMGM app, and it's always a fun afternoon in the sports bar when we're joined by Armando Salguero of Outkick.
Yes.
Love having Armando on with us during Dolphins Week. And not only does he know the Dolphins, he knows the NFL. So we'll get a good conversation in with Armando. That's tomorrow afternoon. He joins us at 4:25, the Sports Bar, every afternoon from 3 to 6 on the Fan Rochester. Hear us in the free-to-download Odyssey app. Search out the Sports Bar wherever you get your favorite shows. And don't forget to like and subscribe on our YouTube and Twitch channels at the Fan Rochester. Zach Gelb on the way next on the Fan.
Odyssey has sports for every fan. Keep up with your